Very good morning, guys.
Good morning, sir.
Very good morning. Very good morning. So you all can hear, right? Super. Right. So before we start, I will give you a small good news, right? We actually, one thing you all already know that we are one of the accredited center for CIM, and more than that, the qualification what you all into right now, the PDSBM, the Professional Diploma in Strategic Brand Management. Once you complete this program, right? So you will be able to finalize. I mean, the confirmation will get by tomorrow. You will be able to start CIM level 6 straight away. So that is one of the good news actually what we can share, because a qualification is under review and you will be eligible to straight away to go ahead with CIM level 6 with this qualification. So it's one of the biggest achievement actually. I mean, what we have gained here. So which means they recognize that qualification as kind of a standard. So then y'all can continue that with the CIM and go for chartered marketing status straight away with the CIM. And also, but the concern, I mean, not with any other institute, because I mean, CIM wanted us to continue the qualification with the CIM students. So that is how it happens. But anyway, entire mechanism will be communicated for you all by within this week. We'll be able to communicate to you all that one. So with that, guys, actually, when it comes to assignment, I was just looking at whatever the areas we were completing in the assignment, because you all have to submit the assignment by 25th June. You all have to submit the assignment, so that is the deadline. So, but 25th June, we can't wait till the last moment. No? So you all have to get ready for the exam as well. And with this, shall we have a look on the assignment to complete it, because the auditing part is one of the crucial area. So I have added some more elements into the auditing topic which I will be taking today. So here, I mean, since you all have the assignment by now, so here you talk about outline factors and dimensions to address comprehensive brand audit covering metrics and metrics to be used in the audit. So I mean, we started this part. We were talking about the brand management audit, branding audit covering both macros and micros. So let me take you all to that area, because we need to finish this part, because task 3, when you look at the part 1, it has a huge I mean, weightage. By looking at this huge weightage on the entire assignment, so we need to give a proper focus on that, since it's an auditing area. So let me take you all on to the LMS, and some more materials are added to the LMS so that you all can have a look on it. So let me take you all there. Right now, anyway, we are in module 3 right now. So 2 more modules there for you all to complete. And we were talking about the branding audit part. So there we started the branding audit anyway. We were talking about all these elements, but I mean, I have added few more elements, since you all need them for the assignment specially. So I will quickly take you all on this area once again and tell you all how to complete that part. But I'm not taking much time on this on whatever the metrics we have completed already, but I will just take you all through the areas. So guys, metrics in the sense, whatever the tools, whatever the strategies, whatever the techniques, what we can use more than the strategies, whatever the techniques and the tools we can use to identify the scenarios, the present scenario of the business, the current condition of the brand. Okay, so the brand audit is simply you are talking about identifying the current context to visualize the future. So that is the reason we do a brand audit, to identify the present condition, because if we don't do a proper branding audit, you can't do that. So to do it, you can't just by looking at an advertisement, you can't decide. Just by looking at how a company is doing advertising campaign or a promotion, you can't do that. So you need to look on certain elements using certain tools. So those metrics they are asking at the task 3 part 1. So what are the areas you all focusing when it comes for brand management audit? So those metrics, at least if you all can use 5 to 6 metrics would be ideal, and you all have to explain each and every matrix and show okay why it is important and how you all can use it, because the question asks not to do an audit but to outline. So we have to get the question clearly. Read the question once again, right? Read the question once again, guys, because the question is not asking you all to do a audit. Remember that. They are not asking you all to do a brand management audit. They are asking you all to outline the factors and the dimensions to be addressed. මොන areas ද අපි address කරන්න ඕනේ audit එකක් කරනකොට. Right? මොන tools ද අපි පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඕනේ audit එකක් කරනකොට. So that is the area they are asking. So identify the question properly, because if you start doing an audit, you are completely wrong. You are completely wrong. So that is why we need to look at. So you got to explain here. What are the tools you are using and why this tool is important. What can you do with this tool? Right? So you all have to show the step-by-step approach what you are taking to do a branding audit. First, you talk about identifying the internal perspectives. Then you talk about identifying other micro and macro perspectives. Because why I said other micro, because internal also part of micro, but we are taking that as a different element when it comes for the branding audit. So internal perspectives, internal audit we need to do. Other micros in the sense your competition, your customer, your supplier, your channel intermediary, the middleman, all these areas you got to visualize, you got to audit. Then the macros are basically the pestile factor. So that area we will be discussing along with today. So you got to explain how you are going to use it. එහෙම නැතුව ඕගොල්ලෝ සිලෙක්ට් කරගන්න කම්පැනි එකට ඔඩිට් එකක් කරනවා නෙමෙයි. අපි internal perspectives analyze කරනකොට මේකෙන් මොකක්ද තියෙන benefit එක. අන්න ඒක තමයි you all have to explain here. So get the question properly, otherwise you might go wrong when it comes for your writing. So that is where I wanted to focus today. All right, now here we were talking about a couple of elements, and I have added some more, especially the stakeholder analysis I was adding, and BCG I was adding, and let's look at how these tools are explained in that particular point in assignment. Now we identified, okay, you have to explain like this. When you conduct the brand management audit, these are the two major areas you got to focus on. So one is micro and the other one is macro. So macroeconomic environment also you have to audit, and the microeconomic environment also you have to audit. What you do to do a brand audit, you have to explain that. Then we identified, okay, what is micro, what is macro. The micro environmental factors are the factors that are directly connected. The factors that are directly connected with the organization's supply and the distribution operation up until the final consumption, final consumer point. So the macroeconomic environmental factors, there only you talk about the internal environment. There only you talk about your suppliers, your customers, your channel intermediary, your competition. So those major 5 areas, of course, okay to visualize it. So you have to explain them. Then the macro environment factors, the macroeconomic environmental factors, where we identified as the broader economic factors, the broader environmental factors, which is an uncontrollable factors. we identified in that way. So where you talk about the political scenarios, then the social, cultural, and economic dimensions, then the demographic, the country demographics or the global demographics, how those demographical factors are changing, then the legal factors, the ecology, natural environment, how the natural environmental changes affecting the things, so, and ethical and all these dimensions we are talking about. So that part we will be discussing anyway today. So you have to explain brand audit should start like this, brand audit should cover these two areas, and then only you have to go for each and every tool. එහෙම ගියේ නැත්නම් එහෙම explanation එකක් ගියේ නැත්නම් ඔයගොල්ලෝගේ audit එක කරන විදිය අහන්න ඒගොල්ලෝ you might go wrong. Right. So we were talking about the microeconomic environment. So these are the major areas we are talking about under micro environment. Your internal environment to identify your strengths and the weaknesses within the organization, things that are within the organization. So your corporate strategy analysis we talk about, and your objectives, your company internal policies, the cultures, the relationship, infrastructure, and all these things you got to talk about. Then your suppliers, your material suppliers, your service suppliers, or if you are in a trading operation, your traders, trading suppliers, the item suppliers, so whatever you name it. Channel intermediaries are the middlemen, satarmadiyo. You talk about whether they are supportive for your business. Your competition, right? How we can counter the competition, your competitor's strengths, competitor weaknesses, we have to audit, we have to identify. So then the customer, you and the consumer, your final customer, it can be either B2B or it can be B2C. Consumer type customer වෙන්න පුළුවන්, business type customer වෙන්න පුළුවන්. We got to audit them. We have to identify how they are supportive to grow the brand. And remember, guys, the confusion what you might go here, I don't know whether I have told you all this, and you might think, okay, even when it comes for marketing audit, you cover these areas. Yes, 100% true. But you got to focus on the marketing dimension, marketing other dimensions where you, when it comes for branding, there are separate other elements where you got to talk about on the branding dimension. So that is the difference. That is the difference. So you got to talk about brand image perspectives, the personality, the brand attributes, brand attitudes, the brand culture, emotional values of the brand, functional values of the brand, and all these things that are related to the brand only you got to focus when it comes for brand management audit. ඉතින් අර ඒ confusion එක මම කරන ගොඩාක් තැන් වලදී එනවා කට්ටිය අපි මේක දැකලා තියෙනවා marketing audit වලත් කරන්නේ. Yes, ඕක තමයි framework එක ඕක. ඒ framework එක ඇතුලේ අපි approach එක විතරයි වෙනස් කරන්නේ. approach එක තමයි වෙනස් කරන්නේ කියලා හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න. මොකද අපිට සමහර tools තියෙනවා වැදගත් නැහැ. brand management audit එකට සමහර tools තියෙනවා වැදගත්. ඒ දෙකේම පාවිච්චි වෙනවා. So and you all know, because you can't separate marketing from the brand and run a isolate game. I mean, those things are goes hand in hand. So I mean, we need to look at those areas. So we were talking about when it comes for the internal environmental analysis, internal perspectives. You got in your explanation, you have to cover, okay, you have to audit the internal environment, and you have to look at, okay, whether the interdepartmental coordination, the coordination between silos, different departments, SBUs, strategic business unit approach. So are those things are working effectively, the coordination and the communication, you have to audit that particular area. So we were talking about all these things, right? Let me know if you all need further explanation on this. Your values, the employee values, right? Their culture, right? Organizational values, the brand equity, what you all have, the resources, what you all have, and all these things, right? Employee understanding on the commitment, right? Because y'all, I mean, y'all have to analyze how supportive employee towards the brand development and their understanding. Sometimes, okay, the person who is in the distribution department might not bother, but you got to identify, right? Do they really commit to build the brand? Because it is the entire organization, right, responsible on that. Accountant cannot say, okay, I'm not doing marketing, so I'm not responsible on the branding part. No, you can't do like that. So you have to, even the accountant should know, should have a clear understanding, and his commitment also should be there in the same way with the other departments to keep the brand. So you got to audit that area. You got to audit that area. You have to identify that whether they are knowledgeable with what the top management expect in the brand equity development, whether they are really concerned on those areas. So you got to look at, otherwise you can't do. And the department culture and the heritage, right? I mean, how people move, I mean, shared values, we call it shared values. How they basically, I mean, you might come from different cultural perspectives. I mean, you might come from northern region, southern region, eastern, central, wherever you come, and you might be, Buddhist, Hindus, Islamic, Catholic, Christianity. So multicultural, I mean, outside the organization. But when it comes for within the organization, one single culture you are talking about, which is associated with the brand culture, and you got to look at, okay, how the cultural perspective, your dress code, the way you talk, way you greet your superior, and with the way you even address your superior and the subordinate, right? So all these things are related to culture. All these things are related to culture. I mean, the communication protocols within the organization, culture, right? I mean, let's say the seating arrangement within the organization, culture, and we said open door culture, right? No barriers, even the PM can meet the chairman without any difficulties, kind of a thing. So unique culture, right? Certain organization, even the CEOs seated in the same flow with the other employees, culture, right? So different things. So you got to analyze how it is, because I mean, a person who comes from outside, look at how internal culture is connected. Let's say, as an example, okay, girl and boy is getting married, and the boy's family comes into the girl's house the first time, and look at the culture, okay, whether they are matching with the culture. Clash එකක් වගේනේ. So something like that only. People don't gel together if these two cultures sometimes not matching. Culture doesn't mean, I mean to say, the personal culture within the organization. I mean to say, when it comes to the brand management. So you got to analyze that. Or analyze කරන්න ඕනේ. ඕවා ගැන තමයි කියවෙන්න ඕනේ. මේක ලියනකොට. Otherwise you will just point out these things. No. Right? මේ point ටික විතරක් දාලා, points ටිකක් විතරක් දාලා මේවා කරන්න බෑ. You have to show, okay, internal perspectives වලින් මේවා visualize කරනකොට මේ දේවල් බලන්න ඕනේ මේ විදියට කියන එක. You have to explain it. Right? The capacities and the competencies, how we can utilize it for the brand management purpose, or the brand equity development, your employee capacity maybe, your competencies within the employees maybe. Sometimes, okay, you might have a guy in a warehouse, smart guy, and a girl in a warehouse, where you can use them as celebrities in your advertisement. But you don't utilize them. You are looking at someone outside. Celebrities, in the sense, they might not have better, I mean, they might not, I mean, movie stars or someone, but they might sometimes would have been a good influencers in social medias. So when you audit, you can use them for branding purpose. And you can identify their capacities. Okay, he's good in the social medias. He's good in digital platforms. He's kind of an influencer in social media, but he's lagging in the warehouse, right? But digitally he's pretty strong. But if you don't identify, when you do a branding audit, when you look at the employee component and their capacities, when you identify them, then you can utilize their capacities and the competencies. So to develop the brand and other internal, whatever the resources and the competencies, right? You got to look at. So I mean, employees identification, okay. On the brand, the relationship with stakeholders කියලා කිව්වම not only within the organization, even outside the organization, how you are keeping, how you are maintaining the relationship with the stakeholders. මේ වගේ dimensions we will be discussing anyway the stakeholder analysis once again. May dimensions ටික you got to focus on the branding audit. So then that We were talking about the stakeholder relation. Oh, okay, this model I was not talking about, but I was talking about the linkage model. The linkage model I was talking about, but I was not talking about the power interest grid when it comes to stakeholder analysis. So let's look at this part also in stakeholder analysis. Okay, right. So we are using another model called power interest grid to audit the stakeholders, identify the stakeholders. Okay, so under this power interest grid, okay, under this grid, I mean, we identify stakeholders by plotting them into 4 quadrants, 4 areas. I mean, the 2 major dimensions are, one is power and the other one interest. Power of what is the question? Power of taking decisions, power of influence. We need to look at. Power එක කියලා කියන්නේ business එකට අදාළ decisions ගන්න පුළුවන් power එක and business එකට දෙන්න පුළුවන් influence එකට තියෙන power එක. Power of influence and power of taking decision. Based on that, we identified some are low, some are high, right? So some might say, okay, අපිට midpoint එකක් දාන්න බැරි. එහෙමත් දාන power interest grids තියෙනවා. Low, high, moderate. Just another range identity. So I mean, then the interest of what? Financial interest interest towards the organization, interest towards the brand, right? Interest towards the brand in the sense that does not mean let's say, I mean, you like to use the brand. No, not only that, even to support the brand, even to protect the brand in a difficulty, right? Even they willing to look at the growth of the brand. They prefer, they have better interest, right? So we need to look at the stakeholders, the people, those who are connected around the brand based on these 2 criteria. One is power and the other one is 2. And look at this. Now, when you look at the top right hand quadrant here, right, we identified some stakeholders are so powerful, right? And also they have a high interest towards the organization. And the people like shareholders, the people who invest for brand, right? People, those who are investing for brand, or those who are investing for your business, maybe senior employees, I might say, right? I'm not putting all the employees here. Some employees might not have power, but they have high interest, right? High interest. Okay, so people those who can take high decisions. That is one category of stakeholders. And when you're managing your brand, my dear friends, remember, you have to make sure you focus on them and manage them very closely and keep continuous communication with them, and you know, I mean, build proper relationship with them, because they can influence you. They can influence you to take decisions, right? So they might sometimes turn the coin to the other side. So it is pretty dangerous. So it's so powerful, and they are the people, those who are having high interest towards the organization also. Okay, so since they are having a high interest towards the brand, sometimes they might not look at the personal dimensions of the individual, those who are working for the brand, maybe the brand manager. they might take a decision for the benefit of brand. එතකොට මිනිස්සු ගැන හිතන්නේ නැතුව ඒගොල්ලෝ brand එක ගැන හිතලා ඉවරලා decisions ගන්න පුළුවන් because they are so powerful, they are having high interest towards the brand. So we got to identify this. You have to secure them carefully. You have to secure them carefully. You have to protect them carefully. You have to deal with them very carefully. So, and there are certain segments, okay, they have high power, but I mean, they don't bother. I mean, whether the brand grows or whether the brand, I mean, what do you call, decline, whether the brand is moving well, they don't bother. Their interest towards the brand is not that much, but they are highly influential characters. They are highly influential characters. Now, as an example, the government departments and the Inland Revenue and all these entities, they don't bother company ke වැටුමත් එකයි නැතත් එකයි, they are taking whatever the legal actions if something happens, right? They don't have interest towards the brand. And look at the current scenario. And guys, certain dimensions are changing rapidly. Certain metrics are changing rapidly. And you all know what happened to Galadari, right? I mean, power of people, power of general public, power of society, power of special interest group, so high. I mean the community is a special interest group in this context. And see what happened. One single mistake basically kill the entire ratings of the brand. One simple, I was talking to one of the top senior person over there. It was a miscommunication by police, right? So what had happened, and police wanted to get the confirmation from Galadari management to see whether they are getting distracted due to this, because they wanted to get some evidence to prove the Gotagogama concept is disturbing the business. So during the discussion, the management has said Gotagogama doesn't have any impact, but closing roads by the police have made impact for them. So that, since that comment came against the police decision for closing the roads, they have interpreted in a different way when they filed the case. That had happened. That was the thing which had happened, but it had gone in a completely wrong way with the communication. It's so bad. But innocent Galadari basically got hammered by the general public because of this issue. So see the power of general public, the power of influencers, power of I mean, they don't have interest. Galadari they don't care, right? Right. So you got to identify this. You got to identify the huge stakeholder, right? Now look at the ratings. Now, I mean, guys, if you all really want to know, there was an article. I mean, if you all really want to know, future is this based on these ratings. I'm not saying the past was not, past also the same, but future mostly depend on how you rate, how you see these reviews, how you rate, how you see these ratings in the digital platform. So if you lose those ratings, you will be in a deep danger, because one thing, conventional brand communications, I mean, I'm not saying 100% ineffective, but becoming slowly ineffective. The conventional communications like TV advertising, the radio, press especially. So the digital platforms are picking up. So because of this, if you reduce ratings in digital platforms, you will not be visible in digital platform, because your visibility brings the credibility. Remember, the brand visibility brings some kind of a credibility to the brand. So if the visibility is not there, when the rating goes down, search engine optimization doesn't bring the brand up to the top. So then you have to put an additional effort, spend huge amount. So to get it back, it's very difficult, because if someone I mean purposely reduce the ratings in digital platforms, this is the pattern it happens. So let's say I mean reduce the rating of this company as an example, and I identified I did it by mistake. Oh my goodness, මම වැරද්දක් කරලා තියෙන්නේ, so I have to correct it. I might go back and increase their ratings. I might support, even I might say, guys, this is what has happened, right? I might support even, okay, by sharing, just because of the mistake I did. But I mean, once you do it with the negative mind towards that particular brand, you will never turn back and redo those change ratings. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful, because now the community basically damage the entire reputation of the brand. මම දැක්ක ඇත්තටම සමහර doctors ලා වගේ I'm not actually I mean recommending to go ahead in that way. Fake messages, කෑමවල සත්තු ඉන්නවයි කියලා ISO අර bathrooms damage වෙච්ච photos මම දැක්කා. ඒ වගේ අර damage carpets වල photos මම දැක්කා share කරලා ratings බස්සලා තියෙන. So you got to be careful. You got to be careful. So එතනදී මොකද්ද? The power of influencer categories, they don't bother. Right? Brand එක තිබ්බත් එකයි නැතත් එකයි, සුම්මා ගහලා දානවා, right? Brand එකට නැති වෙලාම යනවා. So you got to be careful. I mean, these things you got to audit. And the other, right? There are certain other segments, like, okay, I mean, they don't have much power, but they are having high interest towards the organization. Some category of employees may come into this. They can't take huge decisions towards the brand, but they prefer working with the brand. They prefer they always support the brand. They always secure the brand. They always talk positive about the brand, right? So you got to identify what type of people in that nature. Sometimes maybe let's say certain NGOs and NPOs and all these organizations, right? They don't have power, but they have high interest towards the organization, because the company is working really well for the benefit of the society. Give me 1 minute, guys. So you got to identify that. So I mean, the mechanism here, when you explain, you have to explain, okay, by looking at the power interest grid, we are categorizing our stakeholders into 4 main areas, right? 4 main areas like this, and based on their power of influence and taking decisions, and based on their interest towards the brand, we categorize and implement our strategies to get the best out of their effort. Now see, high power, high interest. Now all the details are there, what we were talking about, right? So what you have to do: high power, high interest, manage closely, right? Manage closely, right? What we were talking about. High power, less interest. High power, less interest, right? Now see, what do we have to do? Put enough work with these people to keep them satisfied. Now what I was telling them last evening, right? This Galadari team, I told them, hey, look here. Now they have released a huge article. කවුරුත් article කියවන්නේ නැහැ, guys, remember? දැන් ඉන්න generation එක, right? Digital generation or local articles කියවන්නේ. I told them, hey, look here, keep it. It's perfectly okay, because legitimate purpose, you need to have certain things. But I mean, the people who have reduced your rating, is not in that particular segment. Then කවුද ගලදාරියකේ ඒගොල්ලෝගේ මේගොල්ලෝගේ ratings බැස්සුවේ? Dulaj, who was reducing the ratings in Galadari? कोई segment එකද? Dulaj? Who? Do you think they read articles? Do you think they read magazines? Do you think, I mean, I'm not saying everybody, right? Kameshi, what do you think? ඔයගොල්ලෝ හිතනවාද ඒගොල්ලෝ මෙහෙම මේ ආටිකල් එක බලලා ආටිකල්ස් කියෝලා අනිත් එක the article it's with certain words which is not even sometimes I could understand. I told them to make it simplified. But our legal concerns in the ඒගොල්ලන්ට කරන්න බෑ සමහර වචන වෙනස් කරන්න බෑ. ඉතින් so see ඕක තමයි තියෙන concern එක. ඉතින් අර ඒ මේකෙදි you got to be careful. You got to be careful. So you have to keep them satisfied. And high power low interest group, so you have to make sure, you should make sure that you get them, I mean, see, high power low interest, you have to keep satisfied. So මේ විදිය අපි ගන්න ඕන actions මොනවද? සමහර වෙලාවට මේගොල්ලන් ගැන අපි ගත්තොත් එම low power low interest, sometimes we don't even take a single action towards them. They are just there, right? And I mean, we might not even bother. But in certain cases, you might need them as well. We never know. Low power, low interest group. They don't have a power of taking decisions. Low interest towards group. Emotionally, sometimes we might be able to convert them into a high interest group category. Emotionally, we might be able to connect them into a high interest category. So you got to identify this. Right? And act. So that was another model, and this was the model we were talking about. I mean, linkage model of the stakeholders we were talking about. We identified the functional enabling linkages, diffuse linkages, and the normative linkages, the 4 types of linkages, right? Another model what we were using for stakeholder analysis. Power interest grid, any question you all have? Anyone is having any question? Okay, let's move slowly then. I'm not going to take much time. And I was not talking about this model, the portfolio analysis. Guys, the portfolio analysis, when you look at the portfolio, you talk about the product and the brand portfolio, the mix. Then සමහර company එකට තියෙන පුළුවන් brands ගොඩක් තියෙන පුළුවන්. සමහර company එකට තියෙන පුළුවන් එක brand එකක්. Right? එක brand එකක්, ඒ brand එක යටතේ products ගොඩක් තියෙන පුළුවන්. So එක brand එකක් තියලා ඒ brand එක යටතේ products ගොඩක් තියෙනකොට අපි product portfolio එක analyze කරනවා under that particular brand. Brands ගොඩක් තියෙනවා නම් එකම company එක ඇතුලේ we analyze the entire brand mix together. So Boston Consultancy Group, Boston Consultancy Group is an organization, right? So they release the portfolio matrix. What we can use to identify the mix of the products within and the brands within the organization based on their performance. When it comes to performance, you look at 2 areas, guys. Now, performance you look at by looking at the market share, relative market share, not just market share, right? Relative market share. Okay, so market share and the relative market share is 2 different things. And the other one, the growth rate. Growth rate, right? It's not the growth, it's growth rate. මේ හරියට මේක බලන්න මොකද growth එක කියන්නේ එකක්, growth rate එක කියන්නේ එකක්. Right? මොකද growth rate එක කියලා කිව්වහම I'm not trying to bring mathematics here, but when you draw the curve, we look at the tan value angle of that curve. Based on that only we calculate the, the growth rate. We call it tangent value, tan value of the curve. අපි අර අපි හිතමු product life cycle එක growth pattern එක ගන්නකොට ඒ life cycle එකේ එක එක තැන් වල තියෙන tan value එක වෙනස්. right? එතකොට ඒ value එක තමයි අපි ගන්න growth rate එක අනුව. ඉතින් මම මේතර mathematics වලට මේවා කරන්න යන්නේ නෑ, but you got to identify growth එක කියලා කියන්නේ grow වෙනවයි කියන එක, but growth rate is where you talk about a different pattern කියන එක. ඒ කියන්නේ අපිට සරලවම ගත්තොත් growth rate එක කියන එක අපි හිතමු මාස 6ක evaluation එක ගත්තොත් පළවෙනි මාසේ 100ක් විකිනෙනවා, දෙවෙනි මාසේ 120ක් විකිනෙනවා, තුන්වෙනි මාසේ 125ක් විකිනෙනවා, හතරවෙනි මාසේ 300ක් විකිනෙනවා, පස්වෙනි මාසේ 550ක් විකිනෙනවා, හයවෙනි මාසේ 800ක් විකිනෙනවා. එතකොට පළවෙනි මාස තුනේ growth rate එක අඩුයි. ඒ rate of growth එක අඩුයි, growth rate එක. ඒ අර මාස තුනේ average එක. ඊළඟ මාස තුනේදී steep growth එකක් යනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ growth rate එක වැඩි වෙනවා. මේක curve එකකට දැම්මහම අපිට හරියටම figure එක ගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ figure එක ගන්න එක තමයි මම කිව්වේ tan value එක ගන්නවා කියලා curve එකේ measure කරලා. tan value එක කියලා කියන්නේ ඔයගොල්ලෝ මේක දන්නවා, මේ simple maths එකක් තියෙන මෙතන. ඔයගොල්ලෝ O level 10 වසරේ වගේ maths වල තියෙනවා ත්‍රිකෝණමිතිය කියලා පාඩමක්. අර sin cos tan කියලා සිංහලෙන් අපි trigonometrics එක sin value එක cos value එක tan value එක කියලා අපි ත්‍රිකෝණවල measurements ගන්නවා angles වල. අර ඒ subject එක තමයි tan value එක තමයි curve එකේ අපි අඳින්නේ. curve එකට පොඩි ස්පර්ශයක් ඇඳලා ඒකට tan ඒකට ත්‍රිකෝණයක් ඇඳලා ත්‍රිකෝණේ තියෙන angle එකේ value එක තමයි මේ tan value එක කියලා කියන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒක ලොකුවට හිතන්න එපා, but you all need them as well. හරි, පොඩ්ඩක් දැනගත්තර කමක් නැහැ. right? And the relative market share එක කියලා කිව්වහම මෙන්න මේ competitor against අපි කොහෙද ඉන්නේ? competitor against අපි කොහෙද ඉන්නේ කියන එක තමයි relative market share කියලා කියන්නේ. ඒතර competitor against අපි market share එක highද? අපේ market share එක lowද? so අපේ growth rate එක lowද? අපේ growth rate එක highද? Based on that, we categorize these brands into 4 quadrants. So we have certain brands that are having a high cash generation, which means relative market share is high. Okay, and our market growth rate is also high. And sometimes the products new to the market, which is passing the introductory stage, might come into this point. Product life cycle එක අපි ඉගෙන ගන්නවා, right? We have a separate one on the product life cycle. So මෙන්න මේ product life cycle එකේ grow වෙනවා. එතකොට competition එකත් ලොකුවට නෑ. ඉතින් ඒකේ අපේ cash generation එකත් high වෙගෙන එනවා. එතකොට ඒ වගේ brands අපේ portfolio එකේ තියෙනවා. We identified star category brands. And certain brands are there which is already matured in the market. After a longer period, market එකේ mature වෙලා තියෙන්නේ, right? Growth rate less කියලා කියන්නේ rate එක වෙනස් වෙන ප්‍රමාණය අඩුයි. මේ මාසේ 300ක්, ඊළඟ මාසේ 310ක්, ඊළඟ මාසේ 290ක්, ආයි 305ක්, 312ක්, ඔන්න ඔය වගේ growth rate එක පොඩි fluctuations ටිකක් කියන්නේ. ඒකයි growth rate එක low කියලා කියන්නේ. So those type of brands we identified as the brands that are in the cash cow category. So the question marks, sometimes, okay, you have a high growth rate, but still the market share is low. Then again, you might talk about the brands that are at the growth layer of the product life cycle once again, you might say. So you got to identify. And again, at the same time, you have certain brands which is not performing well in your brand mix. Cash generation is also low, and the market share is also low. So you can decide whether to keep those brands or whether to basically discontinue those brands. So BCG is a portfolio matrix introduced by Boston Consultancy Group, BCG groups. So I mean, this is mainly focusing on the portfolio of product or portfolio of brand that are operating in the market by looking at the two main dimensions. One is relative market share and the other one the market growth rate. So ඒ දෙක බලලා තමයි අපි ඒකේ measure කරන්නේ brand එක කොහොමද perform කරන්න කියලා. So I have explained here further. Cash cows කියන්නේ කොහොමද, right, stars වෙන්නේ කොහොමද, dogs category එකට වැටෙන්නේ කොහොමද, question marks වෙන්නේ කොහොමද. So you all can refer them. What we were talking about so far, you all can refer them further. Any question? Anyone is having any question? Chandana, are you okay?
Yes, Mr. Mike.
So Kameshi, Samadhi.
Yes, clear.
Right. So, right. Let's move on. එතකොට අපි power interest grid එකත් add කරා, BCG එකත් add කරා. ඊය පාර කතා කරපුවට අමතරව මම මේ කියන්නේ. අපි මේක කතා කරානේ. co-competency model එක අපි කතා කරානේ. But අපි මේක කතා කරාද? නැද්ද? Okay, now this is another tool in that case. Okay, this is again an internal analysis tool, right? So we are looking at our resources and competencies. I mean, and analyze whether those resources, how strong those resources and competencies compared to our competitor. Remember, okay? Now this this model introduced by Hamel and Prahalab in 1990, right? Now this model we identified as the co-competency analysis. Co-competency analysis, right? This capabilities and co-competency analysis. So in this, okay, we identify whatever the resources we have. Financial resources, maybe infrastructure, maybe then maybe human resource, maybe whatever the resource, right? We analyze them. So when we analyze those resources, we look at whether my competitor can easily imitate this, or whether my competitor cannot easily imitate this. So we categorize. අපි හිතමු උදාහරණයක් විදියට, right, අපේ brand එක let's say patent right එක තියෙනවා. Now our brand is having the patent right for 20 years as an example, hypothetical value. So it depends, the patent period is depending on the brand. So let's say your brand is having a patent right for 20 years. So which means what? It is a unique resource where your competitor cannot duplicate. Competitor cannot imitate. It's a unique resource. Right? But let's say as example, we have put up a factory spending about 5 billion, right? And my competitor is having a capacity of spending 5 billion and do a factory for them. Until my competitor comes up with the factory, I have a competitive strength. But the moment competitor imitate, copy and come up with the factory with the same capacity, it's a threshold, I mean, it's basically gone. So that type of resources we identified as threshold resources. Mandana, I wonder whether I shared this story, right? Sometime back when I was selling high-end industrial type printing machines, I was selling one of the printing machines to the corrugated manufacturing plant. The machine worth about 8 to 10 million, right, by that time. And we were having a series of discussion and we sold one machine, right, for this company, right? Then what happened after a couple of weeks, I'm saying this happened in 2006 wage, right? So after a couple of weeks, I got a call, okay, from one of the chairmen in another factory in the same industry, yeah. Then he said, look here, we heard you all have this machine and can we have a discussion? So you come and meet my IT team and the tech team, the production. Then we went, right? We went because it's a huge investment. It's very difficult to put that type of a machine. And I also was wondering how come the inquiry came like that, because those are industrial products. Then we went and started the discussion. Then we identified, okay, this gentleman and the lady whom I was dealing before, whom I was selling the previous machine, was brothers and sisters, right? Corrugated manufacturing, being in the same industry. Corrugated manufacturing කියලා කියන ඔය pizza boxes ඒවා තියෙන අන්නේ manufacturing plant. Huge, it's a huge factory operation. Then he was straight away focusing on the machine what I sold to that previous lady. I was wondering then, when I was having the discussion, I noticed the surname. Surname same, right? Then I knew, okay, some connectivity is there between this, because I was talking about the reference of the previous client. When I was talking about the reference, he said, yes, I know, and all these stories. And these two are brothers and sisters, right? And what happened, sister purchased the machine from us and brother got to know. Sister also in the manufacturing in corrugate, she's having a separate manufacturing plant, and brother is having a separate manufacturing plant, one of the biggest manufacturing plants in Sri Lanka. Okay, 2 plants in Sri Lanka. So mokadone when mukut neme, the question he was asking, do you have a machine better than the one what we place? Yeah. Balanda, that sister was purchasing a machine and it was a unique resource by that time, right, for her. But for the entire thing, it was not a unique resource because your competitor can easily duplicate it. Because the competitor's financial power was better than which means the brother's financial power, brother's company financial power is better than the sister's company financial power. So he wanted to get the best one, better than the one his sister purchased. Then he said, I'm really sorry, sir. That was the highest model, highest featured model. So that was and you know what happened? He was not even doing any reference, any inspection, any testing to the machine. He was placing the order. So see, your resource, certain resources are threshold resources. Until your competitor come up with that investment, you can enjoy, but the moment competitor absorb it, you are gone. So those resources, threshold resources, you got to identify. What are the threshold resources my competitors are. I have. What are the unique resources I have? Because my threshold resources are pretty dangerous. මොකද අපේ සිංහල කියවනක් තියෙන්නේ වතුර හැලිය වතුර නටනකම් කකුලුව දඟලනවායි කියලා. අපිට දඟලන්න පුළුවන් අන්න threshold resources කියලා කියන අන්න ඒ වගේ කවුරුත් නැති වෙනකම් රත් වෙන්නේ නැති වෙනකම් අපිට දඟලන්න පුළුවන්. කවුරු හරි ඒක මේවා වෙච්ච ගමන් එහෙම නැත්නම් threat එක ආපු ගමන් අපි යනවා. Gone. So those are threshold resources. We need to identify that. We need to identify. Then the competencies. Competencies when it comes for what your brand can do, what your people can do, their capacities and the competencies. Your brand equity, right? Let's say the competency of KFC brand is the recipe. No one can duplicate, no one can imitate that recipe. No one can make another product to that recipe because it's a unique recipe. When you look at, guys, multinational companies, okay, I'm telling you another incident which happened in long time back, long ago. There was one gentleman whom I knew personally. I'm saying this story somewhere in 2000, early 2000, 2003, 4. This person was working in a multinational company which was operating in Sri Lanka, and he was a chemical scientist. Not a normal person, he was a chemical scientist. Chemical scientist is a person who is basically manage the recipes of all the the products, most of the products. So under this scientist, this chemical scientist, there was a range of products manufactured, recipes and the formulas. Formulas of range of products manufactured under this company. Formulas. So what happened? This gentleman gave a sudden resignation to the company. We are talking about it's a multinational company, right? So this person gave a sudden resignation to the company. Sudden resignation does not mean 1 month notice, 2 months notice. I mean to say unexpected resignation. And since we know personally, because he was closer to our area, and since we know personally, because his intention was to move out the country, but he didn't want to tell that to the company. His intention had to move out the country, and he didn't want to tell that to the company. So what happened? Untimed death of this person inside the factory. It was an untimed death of this scientist inside the factory after releasing the resignation, after giving the resignation. And still, it's a confusion how it happened, and it was reported as a heart attack, but still the death is bit of a bit of something which is suspected how it happened. And argument what I bring here, because he was having the formula. And if the formula goes to another company, you can simply duplicate the product. And if you really want to know, entire funeral expenditure was done by that multinational company. And not only that, the entire family was sponsored to migrate, and another house was given for the family by the multinational company, and the entire family was sponsored to migrate, and the students, the kids of the gen was still even after 20 years, they are spending for that family. So just imagine how things are happening. Recipe ekak competency ekak ne. Why I wanted to relate that story here. A competency එක අපෙන් ගියොත් එහෙම ඒ competency එක competitor ගේ අතට ගියොත් එහෙම we will lose. So as an organization, we need to look at more and more core competencies where our competitor cannot duplicate. So, මේ core competency model එකෙන් බලන්න අපේ resources and competencies we identify by looking at our competitor. Based on that, we identified 4 type of competencies at the capability levels. Okay, so any question there? Any question there? And core competency model further elaborated using VRIO model, right? Core competency model further elaborated using VRIO model, right? VRIO model is the model what we use to analyze our sustainable competitive advantage, So what do you mean the competitive advantage? The competitive advantage means what? What you can do better than your competitor. Competitive advantage is what? What you can give better than your competitor. What you can give to your target market and the target audience better than your competitor. So that we identified as a competitive advantage. So expansion of a core competency model, I might say the VRIO model. Make a VRIN කියලා තියෙනවා. Marketing VRIN කියලා සමහර textbooks වල තියෙනවා. I can't remember what do you call N. I will check and let you know because there's another same model VRIN කියලා තියෙනවා සමහර textbooks වල. I can't remember the letter N. ඒක මොකටද දෙන්නේ කියලා. So C, we go on further analysis. Let's say as an example, we identify a competency. අපි දැන් competency එකක් organization එක identify කරගන්නවා. ඒ competency එක organization එකට valuable නැත්තම්, ඒ competency එක market එකට valuable නැත්තම්, it's not a competitive advantage, නේ. It's not a competitive advantage. It's not a competitive advantage. අපි තුමු උදාහරණයක් විදිහට company එක ඇතුලේ ඉන්න හොඳ graphic designer කෙනෙක්. Very layman example. එළිය ඕන තරම් ඉන්නවා. ඒක එච්චර ලොකු valuable එකක් නෙමෙයි. company එක ඇතුලේ තියෙනවා මේ company එකේ තියෙනවා හොඳ packaging plant එකක්. ඒක එළියට එච්චර නෑ. මොකද අනිත් manufacturers ලටත් තියෙනවා packaging plant එකක්. So it's not that valuable. If that is the case, it is not a competitive advantage. ඒක අපිට ලොකුවට කතා කරන්න පුළුවන් දෙයක් නෙමෙයි අපිට මේ. Now let's say as example, you have some competitive advantage. It's valuable. හැබැයි rare නෑ. ඒක හොයාගන්න පුළුවන්. යම් කිසි දෙයක් තියෙනවා, resource එකක් තියෙනවා, ඒක valuable resource එකක්. හැබැයි හොයාගන්න පුළුවන්. ඒක හොයාගන්න පුළුවන්. right? එතකොට දැන් මම අර printing machine එකේ case එක ගත්තොත් එහෙම that machine is valuable because they were completely changing their approach of the packaging. Because it was an 8-color printing machine, right? 8-color printing machine, the very first time. So it's valuable. But it was not rare. Api supply kare nathang that the second customer, brother of that lady, so would have purchased it directly from the manufacturer because he already knows the product. So which means if it is not rare, competitor can easily match. So competitor parity approach we identify. We can අපිට එතන ලොකු දෙයක් කරන්න බෑ. අපිට තව resource එකක් තියෙනවා. උදාහරණයක් මම I do manufacture something which is valuable. Formula is with me, so it is rare to find from outside. Rare to find from outside, but difficult. I mean, but someone can duplicate it easily. දැන් අපි හිතමු දැන් මම ෆෝමියුලා කියන කෙමිකල් මේකකට යන්නේ නැතුව let's say as an example without talking about the brand which means the intangible component කාර් එකක් හොඳ එන්ජින් එකක් එක්ක vehicle එක manufacture කරනවා. It's rare, right? That engine capacity and everything is very rare to find, rare to buy, very difficult, right? ඒක හොයාගන්න තමාරුයි. එක සප්ලයර් කෙනා ඉන්නේ. හරිම ඒ කියන්නේ සප්ලයර් ගේ rules and regulations උත් වැඩි. But if it is not difficult to imitate, තව කම්පැනි එකක් කොහොම හරි එක ගත්තොත් එහෙම until that company purchase it, it's a temporary competitive advantage. I'm taking you all on this model once again. මේ threshold resources කියලා කියන temporary competitive advantage. Threshold competencies කියලා කියන temporary competitive advantages, guys. Those are temporary competitive advantages. Those are not permanent competitive advantages. Temporary competitive advantage. Until your competitor comes up with that, you can enjoy. අර මං කිව්වේ වතුර නටරක කකුල දඟලනවා වගේ තමයි. And another model, we said, okay, another approach, another resource or the competency we look at, we identified it's valuable. මාර වටින resource එකක්. Very rare to ඒක හොයාගන්නත් මාර අමාරුයි. copy කරන්නත් ලේසි නෑ. And you have that resource, but you are not utilizing it. You are not utilizing it. බලන්න අපිට resource එකක් තියෙන්න පුළුවන්. It's really valuable. Very rare to find. Very rare to find. Imitate කරන්නත් හරිම difficult. But for some reason you don't use it. You don't use it. You got to identify whether you have that type of resource. If so, you have to use it immediately. Because, I mean, those are the resources so important for the business. ඒක අපි use කරන්නේ නැත්නම් එච්චර valuable resource එකක් unused competitive advantage කියලා අපි identify කරගන්නවා. So ඒතර අපි ඒව identify කරගත්තා නම් these resources we can easily use them and make it as long term or the sustainable competitive advantage. Now final one, look at, you have a valuable resource and it is very rare and it's difficult to imitate and companies using it. Take all the multinational brands, all the top 100 brands, guys, sustainable competitive advantages. Now take as an example McDonald's. Valuable brand name, the brand equity, right? Brand equity is valuable. And KFC recipe, very rare. I mean, you can't, it's inimitable, right? And they are organizing it properly. So sustainable competitive advantage, long-term competitive advantage, if you are to have a long-term competitive advantage, sustainable competitive advantage, you need to have resources and the competencies where no one can copy, which is rare, which is valuable, and where you have to use it effectively. If not, you will not be able to make it. So VRIN model, or VRIO model rather, as here. So we talk about how these resources and the competencies can be used to get the maximum out of this. So here, Hamel and Prahlad's model we were talking about by looking at how the resources can consider, I mean, based on your competency. The models they come hand in hand. එතකොට VRIO එක expanded version එකක් තමයි අපි ගත්තොත් එහෙම Hamel and Prahladගේ what you call core competency model එකට. Any question? Any question? You have any question? Now we are moving into the value chain. Value chain එක මම I think we didn't do the value chain also. So let's take it. This we were doing at the beginning. Okay. So the value chain, when it comes for value chain, there's here value chain model by Michael Porter. He identified two main activity layers in the organization. Activity layers in the organization, right? Now these two activity layers, when you really look at, one we identified as the primary activities. Okay. Frontline operation. And the other one basically the supporting activities, the back-end operation. Then frontline operation is mainly working along with the production up until the final distribution and services, right? So ඒකට facilitate කරන්න තමයි back end operation එක තියෙන්නේ, supporting operation එක තියෙන්නේ. Now let's say as example HR, right? I mean, what do? I mean, they mainly facilitate the employees. They mainly do recruitment, training, and development of the human capital within the organization. They are not. They are. I mean, with their activities, even the production might get affected. Logistic might get affected. Sales, marketing might get affected. And all these things are. They are supporting primary functions to activate. They are supporting primary functions to activate the firm's infrastructure, the financial infrastructure. Financial infrastructure නැති වුණොත් inbound logistic එකේ ඉඳලම සුම්මනේ. You can't, right? So legal concerns, right? Firm's infrastructure. If we have patent rights and all these things, right? So those are infrastructures within the organizations, the firm's infrastructure. So those are back-end activities, your planning, right? Approach, your business marketing plans. So those are firm's infrastructure, because based on that only the company is working. The technology development within the organization to support the entire operation. මේ ඔක්කොම ටික එක්කහුව කරන technology operation එක. අපි ගත්තොත් so those are back-end operation, right? To facilitate the primary activities, the procurement, right? Procurement, they are facilitating the primary activities. So by looking at the value chain of Porter's value chain, we identify these two activity layers, the supportive activities or the back-end supports, and the primary activities or the front-end operation. So front-end operation is very clear, very straightforward. Then if you import product or raw material, you import raw material, then you manufacture goods using those raw materials, then you make the finished goods and send those finished goods into the outbound logistic, which means the finished good operation. Then you promote your product. You implement your marketing strategies, you implement your marketing mix strategies, you implement your segmentation, targeting and positioning strategies and all these things, and sell the product and provide whatever the additional services. So why we see the margin column here, guys? When you do margins or financial margins or whatever you name it, you consider all these activities. අපිට sales team එක විතරක් දිහා බලලා ඉවරලා අපිට බෑනේ මේ product එක price එක මේවා කරන්න sales team එකේ විතරක් cost එක බලලා, because the entire organization we need to look at. We need to look at the entire organization. Then only we can decide, okay, this is how it happens. If not, it will be a concern. So we need to get that. So two activity layers, primary and the supportive. Make a primary එක මතක තියාගන්න ලේසි. raw material එනවා, products හදනවා, හදපු products outbound logistics එකට යනවා, ඊට පස්සේ sales and marketing activities දානවා, දාලා promote කරනවා, විකුණනවා, and after sales services delivery and the other considerations implement කරනවා. So this together, this we identified as the value chain of porter. And මතක තියාගන්න මේ හැම step එකකින්ම value එකක් add වෙනවා. So that is why we call it as a value chain analysis. So each and every step add value to the next step. Now inbound logistic එකේ item ටික වෙලාවට ආවහම operation එකට ලේසි. operation එකේ item ටික වෙලාවට manufacture කරලා එළියට දැම්මාම outbound logistic එක ගාන්ට තියෙනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ finish goods අවශ්‍ය ප්‍රමාණයට තියෙනවා. ඒ අවශ්‍ය ප්‍රමාණයට තියෙන finish goods ගාන්ට market එකට අදාළ විදියට ඒගොල්ලන්ට එළියට දාන්න ලේසි. මොකද finish goods ඕන ප්‍රමාණයට තියෙනවා, අවශ්‍ය තරමට තියෙනවා. So market එකට product එක විකුණුණාට පස්සේ whatever the additional support and services තියෙනවා. මේ හැම එකකින්ම sorry, each and every step of this will add value to the organization. Each and every step of this will add value to the organization. That is what we need to look at. So ඒකයි මේකට value chain එකක් කියලා කියන. value chain එකක් මේ එකකට එකක් connect වෙච්ච values තියෙන්නේ. දැන් firms infrastructure financial values නැත්තම් අපිට logistics කරන්න බෑ. Inbound logistics කරන්න බෑ financial values නැත්තම්. organization එකේ financial values නැත්තම් procurement කොහොමද කරන්නේ? Right? So inventory management කොහොමද කරන්නේ? So you can't do that. Financial values නැත්තම් technology developments කරන්නේ කොහොමද organization එක තුළ? You can't do that. So all these things are connected together. ඒකයි මේක chain එකක් වගේ එකකට එකක් connected. So that is why we call it as a value chain. Or even the staff එක හරියට recruit කරේ නැත්තම් production flow එකක් දුවන්න බෑ. sales team එකේ මිනිස්සු නැත්තම් sales කරන්න බෑ. geographical coverage එකකට යන්න බෑ. So you got to identify this. It's everything is interconnected, and then only you deliver this. Any question, guys? Any question? මොකද මේවා slowly ඔයගොල්ලන්ට explain කරන්න තියෙනවා. ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ audit එකේ මෙන්න මේ දේ තමයි මේකෙන් කරන්න කියන එක. You can't take huge high number of words over there, but you have to explain it properly. Then only you can score marks. Any question? No one is having any questions? The part එක අද ඉවර කරමු, then you can finish it. So the brand value chain, we were talking about this anyway, right? brand value chain එක Kevin Lane කියලාගේ brand value chain එක අපි කතා කරා. ඒකට multipliers එක කොහොමද step by step brand එක develop වෙගෙන යන්නේ කියන එක. So I will not take much time. But we were not talking about this one. Channel intermediary audit, right? We need to look at, okay, how our channel intermediary, channel කියලා කියන්නේ අතරමැදියෝ. Who are the channel intermediaries? The wholesalers, agents, brokers, franchise organizations. ඒ වගේ කට්ටිය කොහොමද අපේ operation එකට support කරන්නේ, අපේ brand එකට support කරන්නේ කියන එක analyze කරන්න අපි මේ model එක use කරනවා. Right? How channel attractive to build the brand. Whether the channel is attractive, the brand is not attractive. Whether the brand is attractive, the channel is not attractive. Whose strength is high? Brand එකේ strength එකද high, channel එකේ strength එකද high? right? So සමහර වෙලාවට brand එකේ හින්දා channel එක survive වෙලා තියෙනවා, සමහර වෙලාවට channel එකේ හින්දා brand එක survive වෙලා තියෙනවා. We got to identify that. We got to identify that. So here in this model we talk about that particular area. So under this, the channel intermediary audit, right? Under this channel intermediary audit, we look at how how we can utilize the channel along with the strength of our brand. දැන් අපි උදාහරණයක් විදිහට ගත්තොත් සමහර brands, දැන් ඕගොල්ලෝ agency එකක් brand එකකට agency එකක් request කරනවායි කියලා හිතමුකෝ. අපි දුම් branded product එකකට. දැන් ඒතර branded product එකකට agency එකක් request කරනකොට ඒ agency එක නිකන් release කරන්නේ නැහැ. They look at මෙයාට මේ product එක විකුණන්න පුළුවන්ද? මෙයා කොච්චර strongද? මෙයා හරි standard එකක ඉන්නවද? Right? So මේ ඔක්කොමත් එක්කම තමයි agency එකක් දෙන්නේ. එහෙම නැතුව නිකන් agency එකක් ගන්න බෑ. I'm not saying okay දැන් අපි හිතමු උදාහරණයක් local context එකෙන්. If you are to appoint a distributor to sell your biscuits, let's say as an example, biscuits or biscuit manufacture කරනවා ඒවා විකුණන්න intermediary distributor කෙනෙක් appoint කරනකොට distributor ගේ financial strength එක, distributor ට lorries කීයක් තියෙනවද, distributor ට සේවකයෝ කී දෙනෙක් ඉන්නවද, distributor ට warehouse capacity එක කොච්චරක් තියෙනවද, ඔය ඔක්කොම බලලා තමයි distributor appoint කරන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? channel එකේ attractiveness එක අපි බලන්නේ. channel එකේ attractiveness එක අපි බලන්නේ. Now here even in the brand the same scenario. When you are appointing a channel intermediary, දැන් අපි ගත්තොත් එහෙම Apple brand එක ගත්තොත් Nike, Puma, Adidas, Giordano, සර් ඒ වගේ brands අරගන්න. I'm just saying the consumer level brands. So when you look at now, they have appointed the person who is strong in that particular region, the territory, to manage the brand. So if the channel attractiveness is high, it's a very good point. Then let's say as example, channel attractiveness is high, brand attractiveness, the brand strength is also high. Now that is the best combination. දැන් අපි ගත්තොත් එහෙම global brands ලංකාවේ ඇතුලේ operate වෙන හැම global brand එකකම handle කරන distributor එකත් එක්ක බැලුවොත් you will get an idea, okay, how strong the distributor and how strong the brand. එතකොට ඒ combination එක සෑහෙන්න වටිනවා. දැන් සමහර වෙලාවට distributor මත or the channel intermediary මත brand එක survive වෙන්න පුළුවන්. අපි හිතමු let's say as an example you are promoting a new brand. You come up with new tea product and it's a new one. Brand strength is very low, not like Lipton, Dilma and all these. Brand strength is also very low. And you try to depend on the channel intermediary. You try to promote your product to the supermarkets, right? And supermarket strength is very high. They say, look here, if you are giving at this price like this, you give me. If not, we don't need, kind of a thing. So it's unique in that case, which means the channel is dictating terms on the brand, right? Because their strength is high, channel strength is high, your brand strength is low. So you are in this quadrant. Hey, so if you are managing that type of a brand, you will have to bend whatever the terms and conditions placed by the channel intermediary. Channel intermediary might say, hey, look here, we don't know about your brand. We don't know, whether it will perform well. We don't know whether it will generate revenue or whether we have to incur a loss. So give us samples if it is okay, or give us these benefits. If it is okay, we can continue. So you have the brands in that nature. So you got to identify. You are in which nature. Yeah, in which nature? So same as the attractiveness is low, right? The high, the mokak the mata. So we visualize where are we compared to our channels. Where are we? Right? Brands තුනක් හතරක් තියෙනවා නම් අපිට identify කරන්න බලන්න සමහර brands channel එකක හින්දා සමහර brands brand එකක හින්දා සමහර channel intermediaries කියනවා මේ ප්‍රොඩක්ට් එක තිබ්බේ නැත්නම් විකුණන්න බෑ ඒක. දැන් සමහර රීටේලර්ස්ලා right මේ මම කියන්නේ අද ඊයේ කතාවක් මේ මට මතකයි අපි පුංචි කාලේ කඩවල වලට යනකොට අපිට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන මුදලාලි පාන් එන්නේ නැත්නම් කඩේ ඇරලා වැඩක් නැහැ. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ ප්‍රොඩක්ට් එක I'm not talking about brand ඒ ප්‍රොඩක්ට් එක මත ලොකු ඩිමාන්ඩ් එකක් ජෙනරේට් වෙනවා අනිත් ප්‍රොඩක්ට්ස් වලටනේ. Right now okay when you really look at having a bakery inside Keels, okay, now do you think I mean having a bakery, the customer who comes there is coming only to buy a bakery item? Now let's say a person wants to buy a bakery item, even might sometimes buy a packet of biscuit and move out. So you can increase cross-selling and upselling. Sometimes the people take certain brands to support the other brands. Brand again then ඉස්සර sunlight නැති කඩයක් නැහැ කියලා කියනවා වගේනේ. Because it is kind of a household product, household brand name, which any small time retail shop should have, even a petti kade should have. So brand strength is very high. ඒතර සමහර කඩ survive වෙලා තියෙන ඔන්න ඔයගේ brands තියෙන හින්දා. ඒ brand එක supply කරේ නැත්නම් නැහැ. මිනිස්සු ඒ කියන්නේ එයාට sales නැහැ. So kind of a thing. So you got to identify when you are managing brands whether you are depending on the channel or whether the brand is depending on the channel or whether the channel is depending on the brand. You got to identify. Any question? Any question? Kamesh Chandan, any question? Sinhala මොකද අනිත් දෙන්නෙක්ද තුන්දෙනෙක්ද ඉන්නව නේද? We have only two.
Yes, some of them they are phones on.
Okay. අරගලයට ගිහිල්ලා.
And some of them are. Yeah.
Some of them are අරගල භූමිද? Okay. But share recordings, okay? Recordings share කරන්න. Okay. So let's move on. Another one, consumer audit, right? We have a couple of tools when it comes for consumer audit, right? So දැන් බලන්න දැන් consumer audit එක ගත්තාම අපි customer audit කරන්නේ customer ගේ කොයි side එකද අපි audit කරන්නේ branding වලට අදාළ වෙන විදියට, right? Now there's a model by Leslie Chanetani in consumer audit. Here he said there are certain consumers, those who are rich in their time. There are certain consumers rich in their money. There are certain consumers rich in both. There are certain consumers poor in both. Right? Now it's kind of a thing which is directly influencing the brand purchase and the brand selection. Now let's say as an example, you have a person who is having money but he doesn't have time to spend with you. So your branding approach is different for that type of a person. He's well off, he's having enough money, but no time to spend in selecting the brand. So what are the areas you got to highlight for these type of people? Then you got to identify, okay, you have people with limited money, but time is there for them. So what type of approach you got to look at in maintaining them? Now, I've got to them a company where CEOs line, right? Salli thiyena udaharanaya, I'm just saying, right? They have enough money, but no time to go to a shop and do selection and do all these things to purchase something. They might look at convenient in buying quickly, because they sometimes not bother much about whatever the financial losses they incur, because the time is not there. Time is the most important thing for them, because they have very less time to take the brand decision. So you got to identify the set of customers and the strategies what we can use to get them. Now let's say the teenage segment, ample time they have, but they don't have money. So if that is the case, they have time, but no money. You have to give them experience. You have to give them, okay, to identify how the product. You have to give them a chance to feel the product. You have to give them a chance to take the brand into the mindset of themselves and get the maximum out of it. So you got to identify like that. You got to identify that like that. You can, when you implement your branding strategy, you got to look at what are the areas, whether it is a emotional, whether it is a functional, which area is basically should focus them. Because they don't have money, but they have what? They have time, enough time. They might go from one shop to another shop, one place to another place for their brand selection. So you got to identify this. Time rich and money rich, okay, customer base. Now this is one of the best analysis in by Leslie Chanetani. Now, I mean, which is directly connected with the brand selection. So and another type of customer we identified by looking at the behavior, tight control or the loose control. How they take the decision based on the basically the decision what they can take, how control ability they have on the decision what they can take, whether they have the decision making capacity or they don't have a decision making capacity. So by looking at the decision making capacity, right, we can identify some more patterns, and at the same time you can connect the tight control and the loose control even here, right? Now let's say time rich, money rich customers here, and you might say, okay, I'm the one who is taking decisions for the buying. Control is with me. Then I can do the brand purchase the way I want. So am I dealing with the person in that nature? So if that is the case, what should be my branding strategy? I'm dealing with the person whom I can't take a brand purchase decision. If that is the case, what should be my strategy? So you got to identify, being a brand owner or the brand manager, how we can take decision by looking at their control of controllability or the power of controllability in brand purchase. That is another area when we are looking at the consumer evaluation. And this is another one we can take by looking at the consumer evaluation. Now, here it talks about by, by looking at the consumer buying process. If you can remember the consumer buying process, need recognition, search information, evaluation of alternatives, post-purchase purchase decision and the post-purchase evaluation. If you can recall the B2B and the B2C buying behavior, ඉතින් අපි කතා කරන්නේ consumer buying behavior model එක. ඒතර consumer buying behavior model එකේදී අපි identify කරගත්ත steps 5ක්. Problem recognition එක, search information එක, evaluation of alternatives කියන එක සහ post purchase evaluation කියන එක. අපි ওই areas 5 බැලුවා. එතකොට ඒ consumer buying behavior process එක study කරනකොට we identify few different buying patterns by looking at the involvement of the consumer and the brand differentiation. Samahara purchase decisions buying processes are very quick. Some buying processes, the decisions of buying certain products are very quick. Now, you have previous experience in buying certain products. Let's say your perfume, right? Your perfume. You continuously buy. Okay? You continuously buy. And your involvement, now it becomes low maybe sometimes. Low maybe sometimes. But there may be a few difference between the brand. You're a habitual buyer. You buy the same perfume again and again and again and again and again. It's very less effort. Giya count එකේ තිබ්බද මේ product එක ගත්ත perfume එක. So the same customer might go in a different behavior sometimes for the same product. So අපි හිතමු උදාහරණයක් විදිහට එක perfume එක brute එක තිබ්බේ නැත්නම් මේකට මම යනවා කියන අර brand එක switch කරන්න ඒගොල්ලෝ කැමති නම් එහෙනම් variety seeking එකක් බලන customer කෙනෙක්. හැබැයි මම හොයාගෙන ගියා brute එක තිබ්බේ නැහැ මම එන්න මේන එකක් ගත්තා. දැනට තියෙන available එක. Variety එකක්. They don't stick to a one particular brand in that case. So you got to identify the nature of these buying patterns. And let's say people involved on high value investments. Domestic furniture, let's say as example, designer furniture as an example. You look at designer furnitures. Then when you look at designer furnitures, you identify, my goodness, so this investment is high, the involvement is high. You look at the apartment area and you identify now, okay, you have a small angle over there, 2 wall colors, one is with the stone design and the other one is the plain design. So you need to match the sofa to the stone and the plain wall. So you got to identify that. Complex, so complex. Involvement wise, but let's say as example, okay, am I buying IKEA or am I buying Damro? Am I buying what else? Mahogany masterpieces. So if the significant brand differentiation is there, then you have a complex buying approach. Now look at as an example, right, buying jewelries. I mean, brand differentiation is few, right? You go on the weightage and the caratage of the jewelry. Okay, so I mean, මාලේ දාගෙන ඉන්නකොට ඒක වෝග් එකෙන්ද ස්වර්ණ මහල් එකෙන්ද මුතු කරපන් එකෙන්ද නිලේකා එකෙන්ද කොහෙන්ද ගත්තේ කියලා පේන්නේ නැහැ. You see the jewelry and their involvement is high. You look at, okay, what is the caratage, whether it is okay, genuine gold and 22 the 24 the right make a may design එක හදිසියක් වුණත් උගස් තියන්න පුළුවන් ද බැරිද, so those things are there, right? So make a reliable the මේ හරි ඒවද මේගොල්ලන් දෙන weight එක හරිද වැරදිද? ඒතර brand differentiation එක අඩුයි එතනදී. But your involvement is high. So you are looking at the dissonance reduction approach. මේක ගත්තට පස්සේ මට මොනවා වෙයිද කියන dissonance එක තමයි cognitive dissonance, the consumer buying behavior process එකේ final purchase එකේ purchasing එකෙන් පස්සේ එන psychological imbalance pattern එක නැති කරගන්න තමයි ගන්න. Why people go behind so those high end brands in that nature? සමහර වෙලාවට, let's say as example, industrial products like carpets and all these things. Product එක හොඳ නම් ගන්නවා, brand differentiation එක ලොකුවට බලන්නේ. දැම්මට පස්සේ carpet එක දැම්මට පස්සේ මොන brand එකද කියලා පේන්නේ නැහැ. brand එක ගහලා තියෙන පිටිපස්සේනේ. So you can't. So brand differentiation is less. කවුරුවත් මේකේ මේ ඇවිදලා කියන්න බෑනේ ආරයිට් මේකේ තියෙන මේ brand එකේ carpet එකක් කියලා එහෙම කියන්න බෑනේ. You can't do like that. So dissonance reduction, very few brand differentiations. Very few brand differentiations. So you got to identify that. There are consumer analyze කරන්න ඕනේ. මෙන්න මේ consumer ගේ involvement එකයි perceived brand differentiation එකයි මත. Perceived brand differentiation එකයි මත. So the two dimensions we are looking at in brand difference, the analyzing a consumer. So another two. So we were talking about these two, the involved time rich, money rich, and the tight control, loose control. And then we were talking about how the consumer buying process and how consumer involvement and the perceived brand difference affect for buying decision. And toothpaste එකක් ගන්න යනවා. toothpaste එකක් ගන්න ගියාම signal තිබ්බේ නැත්නම් claw guard එකක් අරන් එනවා. claw guard එකට හුරු එක්කෙනා claw guard තිබ්බේ නැත්නම් signal එකක් අරන් එනවා. So you don't involve, oh my goodness, signal නෑ මෙතන මොකද්ද කරන්න කියලා සබන් දාලා වදින්නේ නැහැ signal එක. So something like that. අර ඒ වගේ patterns අපි identify කරගන්න ඕනේ. By looking at your brands, you are playing in which pattern. So based on that you are taking branding related decisions to counter those clients. So any questions? Now it's 10:22. Any questions you all have? Anyone is having any questions? Any questions? Any question on this model?
It's clear, Mr. Mahesh.
It's clear, no? Right. So we look at this. This is very basic, and y'all know this already. Another analysis of consumers by looking at their need patterns, the customers' need levels. So Abraham Maslow identified 5 patterns of needs. In consumers, we categorize from the most basic need level. But make up then change වේගෙන යනවා මේ pattern එක change වේගෙන යනවා. Basic need එක දැන් when you look at the physiological need, now certain more things are added with the changes in the environment. So now food, water, garments, shelter, rest, and data and voice telecommunication has become one of the most needed physiological need. මොකද I mean, you and I know now, I mean, like most of the things are happening even without traveling, being at the same location. So that the capacity of data and the voice is so important. So it has come into this level right now. Security need, safety need is another need level, and not only just security. And nowadays we are talking about this data security and the data protection, safety of the future, safety of the protection from the nature and all these things we are talking about. Another type of need level we identified under Maslow's need hierarchy. And the other one, social relationships, social attraction, I mean, finding partnerships, friends, I mean, need levels related to the connected to the society, and it is actually a social element connected to the outside environment. So that we identified as the social type of need, the third layer here. And the fourth layer, the need patterns that comes along with the recognitions, the reputation, prestige, and the things like that. The people are having need of being recognized by others, reputation, right? So those things, that another need level we identified. So then finally we identified a need called self-actualization, and we call it self-realization also. And self-realization or the self-actualization, and this is more towards the spiritual need in the market. Spiritual needs and intangible and spiritual. අපි ගත්තොත් එහෙම උදාහරණයක් විදියට, yeah, I mean, Elon Musk can buy anything. He's the wealthiest person in the world, so he can buy anything. He can, he was buying Twitter also very recently. So I mean, any product, any service he can buy, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't have any more needs, right? So his self-actualization is mainly achievements, right? Achievements he's trying to take, keeping and maintaining the number one position, then having the globally recognized brands. Those kind of things are the things, needs that he is having, and doing something different from other industry owners or the business owners, the company owners, or the top 10 community in the world. So doing something different, the space traveling and all these things. So those are the likings that he is having. So those type of need patterns. So those are self-actualization needs. Sometimes very average person will take as an example becoming a doctor, in the sense not the MBB, may not be the MBBS doctor, but may to get a doctorate, maybe the self-actualization. Or religious term, if you really look at, okay, I mean, getting into ultimate peace of mind, maybe the self-actualization. So self-actualization is more towards the spiritual dimension of need of a human being, right? It's intangible patterns. ඉතින් මේක අපි ගත්තාම මෙතන අපි ඒබ්‍රහම් මැස්ලෝස් කියලා තියෙන need levels ටික අපිට identify කරගන්න පුළුවන්, connected with whatever the changes by adding here and there කියන එක. දැන් අපි ගත්තොත් එහෙම let's say social activist කියලා group එකක් ඉන්නවා. They are looking at the esteem needs නේ. සමහර ලාට ඒගොල්ලොන්ගේ economic value එක might not be so strong, but self-esteem, everybody knows kind of a thing, right? That the economic value is not that strong, right? So let's say a terrorist leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi as an example, who killed by a US what do you call Al Qaeda. So Saddam Hussein, Al Qaeda, so terrorist leader in who was in Sri Lanka, Prabhakaran as an example. So their needs are different, right? Their needs are different. Now Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi doesn't have a esteem niche. Society එක මාව දන්නවා මට recognition එක ගන්න ඕනේ කියලා එළිය බහැලා හැම යන්න බෑනේ. They couldn't even come out, no, right? So those are they are more focused on the safety and security need patterns, you know. දැන් government එකටලා තියෙන්නේ දැන් focus කරලා තියෙන්නේ safety and security කියන need patterns. So something like that. So as per Abraham Maslow, we need to identify why he has put it in a pyramid there. මේක Maslow pyramid එකකට දාන්න හේතුව තමයි average consumer moves from bottom to top. Moves from bottom to top, and bottommost layer is having the highest volume in the market, and it moves upward in the same way. And safety, we can physiological need එකම බලන එකලු ඒක තමයි වැඩිම තියෙන safety එක ඊට පස්සේ belonging love social ඊට පස්සේ එතන මේ need එක අඩු වැඩි වෙන ප්‍රමාණය විදියට තමයි right volume විදියට තමයි මේක අපි හැමෝටම තියෙනවනේ physiological need එක food water shelter thirst I mean rest කියන එක data voice කියන එක දැන් අපිට අපි හැමෝටම තියෙන need එකක් වෙලානේ communication එක right නමුත් අපිට ලොකු security safety එකක් ඕනේ නැහැ නේ we need a safety to survive for future, right? But that doesn't mean that we need to have insurance schemes and all these things, security guards, no. So it becomes less, so something like that. So that is why the Abraham Maslow, and also the other one, why it from bottom to top, what he's saying, a person is trying to fulfill the most basic need and move forward after this. That also very true නේ කන්න බොන්න නැති එක්කෙනෙක් ගිහලා BMW එකක් ගන්නවා නම් curvage TV එකක් අර price එක හොයලා ඒක ගන්න බලනවා නම් so it could have been he or she could have been a psycho, no. So you move upward, right, one by one. So that is how Abraham Maslow talks about the consumer need patterns, the customer needs in different layers. Any question? If not, we can take a quick break and come up. Then we can, then you all with this, you all can finish the, any question, because we need to talk macro environment, then we can finish that area. Kameshi, any question? Chandan, if not, we'll take a quick break.
No, sir, so far like it.
So far clear.
No, Mr.
Okay. So we'll take a quick break and we'll meet up in by 11. We'll do like that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. සිනල් මේ ජොයින් වුණාම මට මැසේජ් එකක් දෙන්න.
Okay, sir.
Okay, guys. Sorry. Oh, okay. Right. So let's start anyway without taking time since you're there. Right. Now here we were talking about this part, what do you call the Maslow's need hierarchy, and two more areas to cover under this. Okay, B2B, we were talking about sometimes back how the B2B customers basically influencing the branding part. There you got to analyze, okay, how when it comes for branding audit, you got to analyze how the B2B market is working uh, positively or negatively when it comes to the brand. B2B customers lucky when the companies, those who are purchasing products. Companies, those who are purchasing products are the B2B customers. So Methanidi guys, actually what you all have to remember now this um, you need to audit their demographic capacities. Okay, what type of industry they are into, what type of buying capacity they are into, what type of how do they take the buying decisions, do they make the routing buying decisions, do they, I mean, it's something like that. Now when you really look at certain companies, they always go on a particular what do you call uh, brand types. Now let's say as example, if companies like John Keel, Softlogic, they always maintain certain standards in their procurements, right? So in the sense, now if they want to purchase a particular category, they specifically list a couple of brands they should purchase in that particular category. So like that, you got to identify the purchasing pattern, purchasing styles, the procurement value, and the procurement behavior, the company demographic size, and all these things, their location availability, and all these things before you take the decision on the branding part. So that is the area we need to focus when it comes to the branding audit, focusing the company. Now, when you look at the competition, guys, actually, you have to audit how strong your competitor available in the market, because you need to know, okay, whether you are having a better capacity than your competitor. If you are having a better capacity than your competitor, then you got to analyze, okay, what are the core competencies what you have, what are the sustainable competitive advantages what you have, what are the, I mean, unique resources, unique skills you have. So like that, you have to analyze always along with what you have against your competitor. And at the same time, competitor might have uniqueness. You have to analyze your competitor product portfolio, competitor's brand portfolio, competitor's market share. You have to analyze the competitor's marketing mix. In simple term, you got to analyze your competitor's strengths and weaknesses. Competitor ගේ තියෙන strengths මොනවද, competitor ගේ brand එකේ තියෙන weakness මොනවද කියන එක තමයි ඔයගොල්ලෝ මෙතනදී analyze කරන්න ඕනේ. ඒතකොට එතනදී analyze කරනකොට whether the competitor is positioning its brand strongly, whether the competitor positioning is not stronger, whether the competitor is having a high share of voice, whether the competitor is having a high share of mind. ඔන්න ඔය දේවල් ටික අපිට audit කරන්න සිද්ධ වෙනවා when we talk about the competitor market audit. So that is the competition what you got to do. So what we can do after that, we can tabulate all whatever the findings and analyze it properly. අපි උදාහරණයක් විදිහට computer එකේ product portfolio එක table එකකට ගෙනල්ලා අපි බලනවා, okay, whether it is matching exactly with our portfolio. Computer pricing, whether it is matching with our pricing, and what are the strategies, directions we should take when it comes for pricing. So like that entire marketing mix we need to analyze. Positioning when it comes for brand positioning. So competitor position කරලා තියෙන්නේ මිනිස්සුන්ගේ මොන need එකටද address කරන්නද. Competitor position කරලා තියෙන්නේ මොකද්ද positioning message එක, positioning theme එක. And other one the media channels. Computer use කරන්නේ මොන media channels. ඔය ඔක්කොම ටික we need to audit to see how strong from the branding perspectives when it comes for the competition. So in branding audit, so those are the areas when it comes for competitors you need to look at. So now we are coming into the final one, the macroeconomic environment. This is a broader area. This is actually a broader area. Broader area either says the macroeconomic perspectives when you really look at, right? Now, these are the areas where we have no control. Now see, okay, what has happened right now? Okay, now yes, of course we appoint the political party, we appoint the government through an election, but how strong as an individual organization to take controllability? You can't do that, right? As an individual organization you can't control the government in local context. Now, but together as the general public we have some kind of a controllability, but not as an organization. So what we need to look at, macroeconomic environment as one single brand, do we have the controllability towards the political decisions? We don't have. So but whatever the brand related decisions we are taking based on the decisions taken by the political fraternity, political segment, which is affecting either positively or negatively. And remember, when you analyze external environment factors, I didn't mention this earlier, when you analyze something went wrong with my signal. Okay, when you analyze the I mean to say these areas, let's say I mean external environmental factors, as I said, the competition is external, then the supplier, channel intermediary, customer, all these are external environment. Though they are in the micro, they are external to the organization. And entire macro is external to the organization. Political external to the organization. Economical, social, cultural and demographic, technological, ethical, ecological, legal, all these things are external to the organization. Now, when you audit external environmental factors, we can identify, we can find whatever the possible opportunities we can use to grow our business, whatever the possible threats that might affect negatively for our business. So when you analyze the external environment, factors external to the business, even being in micro and the macro, so we identified opportunities and threats. Where SWOT කියන model එක, you might have heard the model called SWOT. SWOT කියන model එක හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ මේ strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats කියන මේ model එක හැදිලා තියෙන්නේ strengths and weaknesses අපි collect කරන්නේ internal environment එකෙන්, which means within the organization. Opportunities and threats we collect from the external environment, which means all the other factors other than the internal environment. Computer ඔක්කොම අයිති වෙන්නේ ඒ category එකට. So macroeconomic environment analysis එකෙන් අපි හොයාගන්නේ මොනවද? We are looking at possible opportunities for the development of the brand, possible threats that might foresee in future for the brand. So political environment එක අපි analyze කරලා බලනවා, what are the political related changes in the industry which is affecting our brand either positively or negatively. If it is changing positively, it's an opportunity. If it is changing negatively, it's a threat to the business. So socio-cultural environment is also same, cultural dimensions. Now let's say as an example, now the present socio-cultural environment. Now inclusive culture within the society we identified. Inclusive culture in the sense, okay, I mean there is no individual, religion focus approach kind of a thing. So it's a multicultural, multidimensional approach we are talking about in the present context. We identify that as an inclusive culture. So those things, how it is affecting the brand. So different concepts, how it is affecting the brand. So you got to analyze it. So socio-cultural dimensions and the demographic parameters. So the country's demographic, the population demographics, එතකොට regional demographics, ඒව බලපාන්නේ කොහොමද brand එකට. So let's say as an example once again, so if the country's economy is going down, economic recession, now what we are facing right now is the same. So most of the branded products, right, are experiencing, non-essential branded products are experiencing less demand. So, and due to less supply also, certain products have increased their pricing as well at the same time. So remember, we need to analyze how the economic environment also in that context affecting our brand, either positively or negatively. Samahara brands වලට economic condition එක positive වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Let's say you're talking about an export brand. So your revenue, your brand revenue comes in dollars in that case. So you're benefited. Even you can discount the product and give, because you are benefited in that case. So economical perspectives, you can either work in either positively or negatively. Ecology means the natural environment, the nature, right? How the nature is working towards your brand, either positively or negatively. Now, each and every element that are there in the macroeconomic environment does not affect for each and every brand. So certain things are affecting, certain things are not affecting. So we got to identify the things that are affecting, we got to identify the things that are not affecting. So ecology, in the sense, the natural environment, sometimes your brand might not affected with the natural environment. But let's say as an example, we never thought, okay, the brands like Nike, brands like Adidas will use recycled materials and all these things, the plastic waste material to make their products. So the ecology, they concern on the sustainable environment in their branding. So ecology is having some kind of a positive influence on them. I mean, they are supporting the sustainable natural environment with their manufacturing. So ecological environment is affecting the brand either positively or negatively. Technology, I don't have to tell you what is technology, but technology also affecting either positively or negatively for the brand development. Because the technology development we know, because like every other day the new technology comes into the market in whatever the different ways. So if your brand is not absorbing those new technologies that are coming up into the market, sometimes you will not be able to survive. So you need to, if you are to have a sustainable competitive advantage, sometimes you will have to depend on the technology. You will have to depend on the technology to make sure that you are sustained in the industry. So technological changes that are affecting the business either positively or negatively. Legal perspectives, the law and order, the country new regulations maybe. Sometimes the regulations, like let's say you're a manufacturer of kids pharmaceutical items. There is a regulation saying that okay, you can't use multicolored cartoon characters or things that are attractive for kids for this packaging. It's a rule, it's a law. So if you are using some kind of a thing like that, then you are bound, you are basically liable for whatever the legal conditions that are there that have already imposed. So you got to identify all these things. So you got to audit all these things, okay, whether these things are working either positively or negatively, and the ethical considerations. I mean, we all know, I mean, how, what do you call this, child labor thing affected for Nike product some time back. So one of the South African manufacturing plant was recruiting child labor to manufacture Nike. Nike is a brand which is not having a single factory under them. So they are the brand conscious, the company, because all the products they outsource and brand under their umbrella. So that is how they do. So ethical guidelines, you got to focus on using child labor, elderly labor, or if you are practicing unethical, if you are using unethical let's say material, so you got to be careful. So you have to identify those ethical considerations and whether those ethics are affecting the brands either negatively or positively. Now when it comes for, let's say, another one, the supermarket, right? So ethically each and every supermarket now should have a disabled access, right? But if you are not producing a disabled access, you are violating an ethical consideration, right? You are violating a socially responsible values. So you got to identify those things and you need to make sure that you're working on the same thing. So these are the areas what we discuss under the macroeconomic environment in the branding audit. So here, when it comes for the entire thing, what you all need to identify, you have to explain each and every element what we discuss here, at least 6 to 7 elements what we discuss here under your task 3 part 1, to show what are the metrics you can use. Now this macroeconomic also a matrix. Remember that macroeconomic also you can talk about under macroeconomic environment. We are auditing these few elements to identify how favor these two elements for the growth of the brand, and also how challenging these two elements for the growth of the brand. So you have to explain in that way. You have to explain in that way. Otherwise, what will happen? Because the assignment says outline factors and dimensions to be addressed comprehensive brand audit covering metrics to be used in the audit. ඉතින් මේක explain කරන්න ඕනේ ඒක කොහොමද කරන්න කියන එක මේ tools පාවිච්චි කරලා brand audit එක කරන්නේ කොහොමද කියන එක මෙතන explain වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒතර දැන් with that we have covered this part of the assignment as well. So make sure you complete that and send me. After that we can discuss the what do you call the final one here. We have to explain the measuring the brand audit, the measuring the performance part. No? That comes at the latter part of the syllabus anyway, so we will do that as well. Then with that we are moving into the other part of the session, designing the branding objectives. So any question before I take up this? Any question? Okay, only Kameshi is here. Kameshi, any question?
Yes, sir. So far, all clear, sir.
So far, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Sanal, you will have to get others. Otherwise, maybe if the assignment is the main concern, and with that only the Viva is also there, so you have to make sure that others are also comfortable. Otherwise, last moment if they may, join and try to do the assignment, I don't think it will be possible. Now
But it's a
here,
code builder.
yeah, we'll just make sure they are there. Right, now when it comes for branding objectives, right, this is another area what we need to look at. Now, I mean, look at how they have positioned this. Now, by looking at this, we know what is the brand. By looking at this, we know what is the brand we are talking about. Their objective is what to get into the mindset of the consumer and position, paste the brand image, create a unique identity, unique personality, unique image to their brand and increase the brand equity. Now, by looking at this, you can identify. No logo, no brand name, nothing, but just the physical value of the bottle. You can identify what the product and the brand we are talking about. Now look at this identity, the unique identity. This is an identity, yeah. This is an identity. So the color and this the shape of the bottle is an identity of the entire brand. So we need to make it. So our objective is to build those things. Objective of any brand is to build those identities, those personalities, those cultural values, those vision, mission, and all these things in the mindset of the consumer. Whether then it is easy to, get the market share. Now look at this logo, the Toyota logo. Even here, you know what it is, right? No name, nothing, but it has already pasted in the mindset of the consumer. So objectives are the goals what we create for this brand. These goals. So goals can be different depending on the brand what we are talking about. So objectives we need to identify, the long term or the short term goals what we are designing for the brand. But when it comes for brand objective design, right, more than the volume based objectives. Volume based objectives are more towards the marketing objectives, right? So here branding objectives are more towards value. Value of what? It's not the financial value, value of the brand. Brand equity improvement are the main focus in the branding objectives. Brand equity කියලා කියන්නේ brand value එකනේ. එහෙනම් brand equity improvement එක තමයි ගොඩක් branding related objectives වලට focus වෙන්නේ. So that we need to identify. නැත්තම් branding objective එකක් විදිහට අපිට marketing objective එකක් ලියුවොත් then it might go wrong. Now increasing the market share කියලා කියන්නේ it's a marketing objectives. But let's say as an example, increase the mind share, right? Increase the brand recall ratio, increase top of the mind recall ratio, right? Increase the brand awareness kind of. So those are related to the branding objectives. Brand market share, yes, you can talk about. I'm not saying no. The product market share and the brand market share is two different things. Now, one particular brand might have multiple products, and overall the brand is performing really well, but one single product might not perform. So product market share, the category market share, and the brand market share is different. Now අපි ගත්තොත් එහෙම උදාහරණයක් විදිහට Samsung කියලා කියන්නේ consumer electronic industry එක, telecommunication industry එකේ ඉන්න හැබැයි Samsung වල හැම product එකක්ම perform කරන්නේ නැහැ. Samsung products තියෙනවා industrial market එකට. ඒවයි ඒ සමහර products එච්චර ලොකුවට perform කරන්න බෑ. consumer market එකේ තියෙන electronics ඒවා perform කරනවා. එතකොට ඒ එකම brand එකේ යටතේ there can be multiple products. So product market share and the brand market share is two different things. You got to identify that as well. So when you are setting the objective for brand, your focus should be the branding side of the product. Now we'll see, right? Dunkin' Donuts. right? This logo, just by looking at the logo, Baskin Robin, just by looking at the logo, you can identify it, which means what they have captured the mind share of the target market and the target audience. They have captured the high share of recall ratio in the mindset of the target market and the target audience. So, I mean, your objective when you are designing should focus in those areas when it comes to branding. Right? So now, how the brand objective works? First thing, actually, you need to look at what is your brand vision, right? So brand vision is a corporate level approach. So you got to look at what is your brand vision, right? Once you identify the brand vision, then you need to look at brand vision is a long term perspective නේ. දැන් brand vision එකක් කියලා කියන්නේ ලබන අවුරුද්දේ අපි මොනවද achieve කරන්න යන්නේ කියන එක නෙමෙයි brand vision එකෙන් කියන්නේ. Brand vision is basically the horizon of the brand, right? දැන් අපි අපි පඩිපෙළක උඩම තියෙන පඩිපෙළ තමයි vision එක අපේ. එතකොට අපේ ඒ vision එකට යන්න මේ steps ටික නැග යන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට මොකද්ද කරන්නේ? අර කාපට් එක උඩටම අරන් ගිහිල්ලා roll back කරනවා වගේ, right? පල්ලෙහාට දානවා වගේ දෙයක් තමයි අපි කරන්නේ. එතකොට උඩටම ගිහිල්ලා එතන ඉඳන් අපි බලනවා, right? Okay, if that is the vision, how are we going to set our long term objectives? We need to look at. එහෙනම් මේ vision එක අපි අවුරුදු 15කට set කරා නම් අවුරුදු 5ක long term objective එක මොකද්ද? අවුරුදු 10 දී long term objective එක මොකද්ද? අවුරුදු 15 දී vision එක. So you got to identify that. So once you identify the long term objective, what do? Then we have multiple short term objectives. Again, long term objective එක achieve කරන multiple short term objectives අපි හදාගෙන යනවා. එතකොට මේ activities වල ඔක්කොංගෙම integration එක තමයි, aggregation එක තමයි අපිට long term objective එකට යන්න ලේසි වෙන්නේ. Otherwise what will happen? You will have one particular long term objectives and you don't have short term objectives and short term measurements, measuring criteria. Then you will get stuck one day, because if you try to evaluate the particular time period, you will not be able to get the maximum out of it because you don't have the short term objectives. So we always need to start from the brand vision and the corporate level of the corporate value of the brand and the corporate level expectation of the brand. ඉතින් brand vision එකේ තමයි corporate level expectation එක තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින් brand vision එක මොකක්ද කියන එක දන්නේ නැත්නම් brand එකෙන් brand owners ලගේ mind එකේ තියෙන vision එක මොකක්ද කියලා දන්නේ නැත්නම් so we will not be able to design the long term objectives. ඇත්තටම ලංකාවේ brand managers ලා කියලා කිව්වහම අපි ගොඩක් වෙලාවට දකින්නේ සමහර companies, so I'm not saying multinational companies that are operating in brands in country. So සමහර companies වල brand managers ලා නිකන් category managers ලා වගේ. ඒ කියන්නේ brand manager කෙනෙක් කියලා කිව්වහම he or she should handle a set of brands and the development of those brands, not the category. Category එක කියලා කියන්නේ දැන් අපි ගත්තොත් උදාහරණයක් විදියට මේ consumer electronic category එකේ තියෙනවා brands 10ක් විතර. එතකොට ඒ brands 10ම handle කරනවා නම් එයා තනිකරම ඒ category manager කෙනෙක් වෙනවා මිසක් එයා brand manager කෙනෙක් වෙන්න මේකක් නෑ. මොකද branding වලදී the approach you are taking, right? Even in one particular category, you might have multiple brands. I'm not saying no. Now when you look at pharmaceutical FMCG companies and especially the pharmaceutical industry, you see certain brand managers handling multiple brands. Perfectly okay. But remember, they are doing only what? They are doing only the category management, not the brand management. So that we need to identify. මොකද සාමාන්‍යයෙන් competing brands handle කරනවා නම් එකම brand manager කෙනෙක්. එතකොට එයා එයා කොතනින් කොයි බ්‍රෑන්ඩ් එකකටද ජස්ටිෆිකේෂන් එක දෙන්නේ කියන එකේ පොඩි චැලෙන්ජ් එකක් තියෙනවා. right? මොකද එකම බ්‍රෑන්ඩ් මැනේජර් කෙනෙක්ගේ අපි ගත්තොත් එහෙම මේක සයිකොලොජිකල් සයිඩ් එක ගත්තොත් you know what is the left brain and the right brain. creative part and the analytical part අපි ගත්තොත් එහෙම. එතකොට එතනදී අපි එකම බ්‍රෑන්ඩ් මැනේජර් කෙනෙක්ගේ එක බ්‍රෑන්ඩ් එකකට ක්‍රියේටිව් වෙලා අනිත් බ්‍රෑන්ඩ් එකට ඇනලිටිකල් වෙන්න බෑ. right? Because they are talking about it the same mindset. So it is very challenging. It is very challenging. ඒතර competing brands handle කරනවා නම් එතනදී අපි දකින්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ඒගොල්ලෝ ඇඩ්වර්ටයිසිං එකම අරන් කරනවා. නමුත් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට මේ clashing වෙන තැන් වැඩි. මේක මම සමහර FMCG companies වලත් දැක්කා. ඒ කියන්නේ එකම brand manager a category ඇතුළේ තියෙන ගොඩාක් brands manage කරනවා. So he is more than a brand manager. He is a category manager that we need to identify. So we got to work on those vision of each and every brand if you are handling multiple brands. එහෙනම් මේ vision එක මොකක්ද කියලා identify කරගෙන මේ vision එකට අනුව තමයි අපි long term and the short term objectives work out කරලා ඉවරලා ඒ objectives base කරගෙන අපි targets ටිකට යන්න ඕනේ. So that is how you are taking the start to design the branding objectives. Now, may දකුණු පැත්තේ logo එක දැක්ක ගමන් you might confuse what it is. But I mean we know it's a Walmart logo, right? Walmart is one of the famous supermarket chain in the world, right? So I mean by looking at it we can recall the values, right? We can recall their values. So when you design the brand objectives, right? So you need to concentrate on certain areas. අපි නිකම්ම අපිට branding objective එකක් හදන්න බෑ. එහෙම branding objectives අපි හදාගෙන යන්නේ නැහැ. Because we have to identify everything, right? අපි ගත්තොත් එහෙම උදාහරණයක් විදියට right purpose behind the brand. Okay, we need to have a clear idea about the purpose behind the brand. නැත්තම් මොකද වෙන්නේ brand එකේ purpose එක එක පැත්තකින් තියලා අපි වෙනම strategies ගහගෙන යනවා objectives අපි වෙන විදියකට හදනවා. Then it will be a question, then it will be an issue because I mean we have no idea of how to do this because I mean purpose එක එක තැනක තියාගෙන අපි වෙනම objective එකක් හදාගෙන ඉස්සරහට යනවා brand එක promote කරන්න බලාගෙන just for the sake of sales. Then you will not run for a longer period if that is the concern. Then we need to look at okay how I mean clear our team members with their I mean knowledge on the brand and their expectation and all these things. So certain things I have mentioned here. So I mean drive sales and improve customer loyalty. So we should be able to drive the sales ultimately. So the final objective of any brand is to work on the sale, right? If the sales are not moving, no point of just having the best product, right? So you got to identify that, right? So you should be able to drive the team to get the entire support for the brand development. So increase reflection among employees to improve or refine future branding objectives, right? So people those who are working within the organization should trust the brand, should love the brand. But the first thing ඒගොල්ලන් brand එක trust කරන්නත් ඕනේ, brand එකට ආදරය කරන්නත් ඕනේ. You should love the brand because otherwise what will happen, right? You all will I mean the top management will do the branding strategies and will expect something, but the employees will not give the proper support to the brand. So it is a concern. So we should make sure that every individual within the organization focus on that particular area as well. So this is another supermarket logo, Carrefour, right? One of the leading supermarkets in the world. Maybe I might say third from the list, Carrefour, which is giving a tough challenge for Walmart once again. So you got to look at. So long-term objectives. Okay, when you look at long-term objectives, we need to see whether it is simulate with the progress, whether it is really talking about a progress. අපි මේ long term objectives වල අපි progress එකක් ගැන ඇත්තටම කතා වෙනවද? වෙන්නේ නැත්නම් වැඩක් නැහැ. It's not a long term objective. Right? And මේ long term objective එක employees ලට feel වෙන්න ඕනේ. Oh my goodness, wow, මේක මෙතනට යනවා කියන feeling එක. They should get that feeling. Employees should feel that this is so valuable කියන එක. So you got to focus on that. Right? So, and it should clear and understand. So those things I don't have to take much time on it. So, and I mean, should have a proper differentiation. Should have a proper differentiation. Okay. I mean, people should be able to. I mean to say the employee should be able to. Believe the brand and support the brand willingly to build the brand. Then some other companies, we have seen the employees are not even bothered about the brand and they just come and do the job and vanish. They just come and do whatever the job which is assigned for them and disappear. So that type of a approach might kill the brand in long run. So you should basically work on that. So ඒක ඇතුළෙත් අපි differentiation එකක් පෙන්නන්න ඕනේ, මේක uniqueness එකක් පෙන්නන්න ඕනේ. Right? So I mean brand owners ලාට වගේම for other stakeholders, brand should be able to provide a clear direction for them. Clear direction in the sense not to buy the brand, I mean to say not only to buy the brand, but where does this brand moves on කියන එක. දැන් අපි හිතමු අද product එකක් ගන්නවා TV එකක්. You buy a TV today and if you are not sure about what will happen tomorrow to this brand, so your I mean might not purchase the brand, right? But if you know, okay, this brand will be there for me if something goes wrong, then you will buy the brand. No? So, I mean, brand owners should be able to create that mindset in the target market and the target audience. So, consistency. I mean, with whatever the activities you all do, consistency should be there in a brand. අපි සමහරලාට දැකලා තියෙන දෙයක් තමයි brand එකක් අද promote කරනවා ආයි අවුරුද්දකින් විතර තමයි promote කරනවා. I can remember once, right? One of my superiors in early 2000, right? දෙදස් ගණන් වල මුල මට මගේ ඊට superior කෙනෙක් මට කියනවා අනේ ඔය advertising ඕනේ නැහැ, ඔය products ටික විකිනෙන්නේ කියලා. right? ඕන තරම් විකිනෙන්නේ advertising ඕනේ නැහැ කියන එක. So he unfortunately he failed to identify, right? He failed to identify how it started. By the time we discussed, right? Sales were coming based on the advertising campaign ran few years back. But however, since the competition was very weak by that time, product was moving on into the market. But after few years, there was a tough competitor came into the market and started basically eating the market share of the brand what I was just mentioning. So what happened then? Only they thought, okay, we have to advertise and we have to promote and all these things. But unfortunately, by the time the company start the advertising campaign, people have changed their mind. Our visibility is creating a unique credibility in the mindset of the brand towards the brand. Because if we are not visible, Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola, Coke තියනකල් ජීවිතේ මල් campaign එක ආවේ because they wanted to show the public that they are available, they are visible. ඒ හින්දා තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒ visibility එක හදන්න ඕනේ හින්දා තමයි ඒගොල්ලෝ කෝක් තියෙන කල් ජීවිතේ මල් කැම්පේන් එක ආවේ. ඒතර ඒ visibility එකෙන් මිනිස්සු ආයි ආව alright okay still it is there. So the credible supplier, the credibility is built. So they were maintaining the market share still even with the aggressive competition. So you got to identify these things. You got to identify because it is pretty challenging to design the objective, but when you are designing the objectives you have to look at all these areas for the benefit of this. And branding objectives are focused, as I said earlier, the branding objectives are focused on these points. Brand identity, brand image. Objective of the brand is to build the brand identity, brand recognition, brand image. Okay, objective pattern එක. Right? තව objective pattern එකක් තමයි brand awareness එක. Recall ratio එක. Right? Increase the recall ratio, increase the brand memorability. මතක හිටින capacity එක වැඩි කරන්න. Right? Increase the brand engagement, loyalty. More and more engagements with the brand we need to look at. And loyalty, engagement එක වැඩි වෙන brand එකට තියෙන loyalty එක වැඩි වෙනවා. So it's a good point. It's a good point. If the loyalty is increasing, if the engagements are increasing, loyalty slowly build with the brand because they don't buy again and again and again and again if they are not happy with the brand. So if they are purchasing again and again and again, it means what? They build the loyalty automatically. The reputation of the brand. අපි objective set කරන්න ඕනේ reputation එක වැඩි කරන්න. Right? අපි objective set කරන්න ඕනේ advocacy එක වැඩි කරන්න. Right? And brand advocates ලා වැඩි කරන්න. Advocates ලා කියලා කියන්නේ අපේ brand එක recommend කරන මේ කට්ටිය වැඩි කරන්න. අපේ objective එක වෙන්න ඕනේ අපි එක්කෙනෙක්ට කිව්ව ගමන් ඒගොල්ලෝ කියනවා මේ brand එක ගන්න influencers ලා. Advocates ලා අපිට current context එකෙන් අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් influencers ලා. වැඩි කරන්න. එතන අපේ brand එක influence කරන කට්ටිය වැඩි නම් so it will be a good point. It will be a good point for you. Then the brand market share, right? So brand equity, we were talking about the brand equity, the brand value, the brand profitability and revenue, brand differentiation. So api objectives design කරනකොට branding related objectives design කරනකොට අපි focus එක තියෙන්න ඕනේ මෙන්න මේ areas වලට branding related, otherwise it will be a concern. දැන් බලන්න මේ මෙතන ඔයාට පේනවා මෙතන මේ Apple logo එකත් එක්ක ඒගොල්ලෝගේ brand value එකයි asset value එකයි දාලා තියෙනවා. දැන් මේක මම Coca-Cola එකට කිව්වා sometime back I was talking about Coca-Cola. Like interbrands.com classification එකට අනුව Interbrands is one of the top leading brand consultancy and brand evaluator in the world. So ඒගොල්ලෝගේ ratings වලට අනුව right Apple කියන product එකේ assets, tangible assets තියෙන්නේ 159. 141ක්ම මේ නමට තියෙන value එක. දැන් market capitalization එක ගත්තොත් market capitalization එක කියලා කියන්නේ market capitalization means the total value of the company, total share value of the company is the market capitalization. Total value of the company. අපි එක share එකක් රුපියල් ලක්ෂයයි නම් shares ලක්ෂයක් තියෙනවා 100,000 into 100,000. So that is the total value of the business, total value of the total share value. එතකොට එතනින් අපි ගත්තොත් එහෙම tangible assets තියෙන්නේ 159යි. 141ක්ම තියෙන්නේ මොනවද? Intangible values that are connected with the brand name. Intangible values that are connected with the brand name. So you got to identify that. අපිට tangible values වැඩි වෙන්න අඩු වෙන්න පුළුවන්. නමුත් brand values වැඩි වෙන්න. So you will simply increase your profitability. So මෙන්න මෙතන තමයි දැන් ඇත්තටම brand value එක ගත්තොත් දැන් මම එනවා උදේ කියපු example එකකට brand value එක ගත්තොත් ගලදාරියකේ. දැන් බැහැලා තියෙන brand value එක. දැන් measurement එකක් ගත්තොත් එහෙම measure කරන්න පටන් ගත්තොත් එහෙම දැන් brand value එක measure කරනවායි කියලා කියන්නේ නිකන් ඉලක්කයක් දාලා measure කරන්න පුළුවන් එකක් නෙමෙයි. ලොකු dimensions ප්‍රමාණයක් තියෙනවා measure කරන්න. customer ගේ view points measure කරන්න තියෙනවා, internal view points measure කරන්න තියෙනවා. It's basically a 360 audit. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ complete sphere එකම අපි audit කරලා තමයි brand එකේ strength එක, brand එකේ මේ capacity එක අපි measure කරනවා. So එතකොට ඒක බලලා ඉවරලා අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් කොච්චර percentage එකක්ද තියෙන්නේ කියලා. So මෙතන 141යි තියෙන්නේ. So I think I told you all about Coca-Cola's case. Coca-Cola වල 138ක්ම තිබ්බේ brand value එක, 162යි තිබ්බේ asset value එක. But you just imagine මේ නමට කොච්චර මේ අපි build කරන reputation එකට, අපි build කරන image එකට, අපි build කරන identity එකට, අපි build කරන recognition එකට, loyalty එකට කොච්චර දෙයක් කරන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා you just imagine. So this is the real financial value of a brand which comes finally. බලන්න මෙන්න මේ අපි ගත්තොත් එම this clown, the McMahon අපි ගත්තොත් එම. So I mean it has a huge value in it. No? Colors, I mean අපි ගත්තොත් එම design, මෙන්න මේ McMahon දාගෙන ඉන්න shoe එක, ඒ ඔක්කොමත් එක්කම අපි ගත්තොත් එහෙම you just have a look on it. Right, මේකම තමයි මම බැලුවේ මේ Mac logo එක මෙතනින් අයින් කරත් you might recall the same thing. දැන් මේක අපි දන්නවා Coca-Cola කියලා. Mac logo එක නැතුව මේක තිබ්බත් අපි දන්නවා this is McDonald කියලා බලලා. Right? Because they have built that brand related objectives long ago to build this brand. ඒවයි results තමයි අපි අද experience කරන්නේ in whatever the part of the world when we go. Right? Now when you are designing brand objectives, this is very simple. Actually it is usually discussed in under any objective designing part. When you are designing a brand objective, you have to your objective should be specific. What to achieve. එතකොට දැන් මෙතනින් අපි කතා කරා මේ මොනවද areas කියන්නේ. Identity එකද, image එකද, awareness එකද, recognition එකද, what to achieve. So you might say my branding objective is to increase the reputation of the brand. Right? My branding objective is to increase the advocates to the brand. එතකොට ඒ හැම එකක්ම specifically mention කරන්න. Otherwise when you are designing a brand, finally you will get confused what to achieve and how to achieve and all these things. So specific should be. And also the measurability. දැන් අපි දකිනවා ගොඩක් වෙලාවට brands branding objectives නිකාම්ම statement වගේ ලියලා තියෙනවා. You can't do like that. එතකොට achieve කරේ නැතත් කරත් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. ඒක statement එකක් විතරයි. So your objective should be a measurable one. අපි කියන්න ඕනේ right brand awareness එක වැඩි කරනවා නම් දැනට තියෙන brand awareness එක, this is the current brand awareness. You let's say current brand awareness is 60%. Our objective is to increase the brand awareness up to 75%. Okay. So I mean pretty challenging thing in branding awareness එක වැඩි කරනවා කියන්නේ. So then that measurability should be there. ඒ වගේ measure කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙනවා. And the other one achievable. I mean ඒක ඇත්තටම achievable ද, assignable ද, මේක තව කාට හරි කරන්න පුළුවන්ද, මේක අපේ එක්කෙනෙක්ට කරන්න පුළුවන්ද, මේක කාට හරි දීලා කරගන්න පුළුවන්ද, මේක achievable ද, right? achievable ද, මේක realistic ද. දැන් අපි කියනවා අපේ existing brand awareness එක තියෙන්නේ 140යි. දැන් මම කියනවා උදාහරණයක් විදිහට brand awareness එක වැඩි කරනවා 180 වෙනකම්. It's a huge. එතන සමහර වෙලාවට මම කියන්නේ ඒක achievable නැහැ කියලා, it depend on the industry. But මේකට team එකක් assign කරන්න පුළුවන්ද මේක achieve කරන්න පුළුවන්ද කියන එක you got to look at, otherwise you might go wrong. Then the revenue, the realistic and relevant. The objective what we design, is it realistic and the relevant to the business what we are in? So, let's say as an example, the business what we are in is IT, and you're designing a brand objective for FMCG product. So it's not relevant, right? It's not relevant. දැන් අපි එකම මේක ගත්තොත් එහෙම අපි ගමු උදාහරණයක් විදියට. එකම බ්‍රෑන්ඩ් එකේ කැටගරිස් උත් තියෙනවා. ඒතර ඒ බ්‍රෑන්ඩ් එකේ එක කැටගරි එකකට අපි ඔබ්ජෙක්ටිව් එකක් හදලා ඒක across the board දැම්මට ඒක relevant වෙන්නේ නැහැ නේ. දැන් Samsung ගම උදාහරණයක් දැන් මොබයිල් ෆෝන් වලට ඔබ්ජෙක්ටිව් එකක් හදලා ඉවල ඒක consumer electronic වලට දැම්මට හරියන්නේ නැහැ නේ. ඒක වීඩියෝ කැමරා වලට දැම්මට හරියන්නේ නැහැ. So that different. Realistic ද relevant ද කියන එක අපි බලන්න ඕනේ. සහ මේ achievable කියන target එක realistic ද දැන් market එක audit කරනකොට අපිට හම්බුනේ opportunities යම් කිසි ප්‍රමාණයක් හම්බුණා නම් අපි මේ budget කරන්න ඕනේ අපි target කරන්න ඕනේ ඒ opportunities වලට ඒකට එහා අපිට target කරන්න බෑ. So you got to identify that, right? And the other one, finally, it should be timely. Any objective should have a time frame. Time frame එකක් නැත්තම් you can't take it as an objective. You can't take it as an objective if the time frame is not there. ඒක just a statement එකක් විතරයි ඒක time frame එකක් දැම්මේ නැත්තම්. So you need to make sure that you come up with an objective which is specific, which is measurable, measure කරන්න පුළුවන් numbers වලින් කාවාරි assign කරන්න පුළුවන් and achievable, right? මේක achieve කරන්න පුළුවන් objective එකක්. මේක කාට හරි අපේ team එකේ හරි outside කෙනෙක් දම්බලා හරි කරන්න පුළුවන් මේ objective එකක්. එහෙනම් මේක අපේ business එකට relevant ද නැද්ද කියන. And when are we going to achieve this objective? When are we going to achieve this objective? So that is how objectives statement is designed in a objective statement is designed in a for a brand. So it is pretty challenging to identify what area to be taken to the objectives. Then අපි මෙතනින් objective එක ගන්නේ මොකද්ද? Branding related components නේ අපි බලන්න ඕනේ මෙතන objectives වලට. දැන් සම අපි ගිහිල්ලි වල sales volume එක මෙච්චරක් වැඩි කරනවා, sales volume එක market volume එක බිලියන 5 ඉඳලා බිලියන 7 වෙනකන් දානවායි කියලා. එතකොට අපි sales වලට objective එකක් හැදුවොත් strategies වෙන්නේ sales strategies. එතකොට අපි market share එකට objective එකක් හැදුවොත් ඒ strategies එන්නේ marketing strategies. Branding වලට objective එකක් හැදුවොත් strategies එන්නේ branding strategies. So without having an idea, දැන් අපි උදාහරණයක් විදිහට reputation එක ගැන කතා කරනවා මෙතන. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපි හිතමු අපිට brand market share ගැන කතා කරනවා, product market share ගැන නේද? එහෙනම් ඒකට අදාළ විදිහට තමයි අපි strategies ගහන්නේ ඒක achieve කරන්න. එතකොට දැන් brand awareness එක, brand recognition එක, දැන් awareness එක තියෙනවායි කියලා අපි objective එක design කරනවා. එහෙනම් අපේ strategies awareness එක වැඩි කරන්න strategies අපේ යන්නේ මොනවද කියන එක so we design them. So like that you got to identify what are the areas of objectives we are looking at කියන එක you got to analyze. නැත්නම් අපි වැරදිලවත් sales හරි marketing හරි production හරි operational හරි objective එකක් මේකට ගෙනල්ලා දැම්මොත් you have to design strategies related to that particular area and not related to branding. So that is the other part what we need to look at. So any question? Objectives, objective design nikedi. Any questions?
Clear, sir. So far clear.
Chandana, you have any question?
No, it's clear, Mr. Mahesh. Regarding this objectives, even not the brand, the business objectives, even sometimes it can be personal objectives. Can we apply this the smart theory into this?
Exactly. ඔය smart කියන එක ඇත්තටම it goes for any objective. It goes for any objective. So එතකොට එතනදී අර ඒක තමයි ඒකයි මම අර කිව්වේ දැන් අර auditing framework එක එකයි. නමුත් අර auditing parameters ටිකයි අර sub elements ටිකයි වෙනස්. ඒ වගේම තමයි මෙතන smart කියන framework එක එකයි. Same framework, but when we are designing personal objective, right? Okay, what is my specific personal target I'm planning to achieve, right? What is my, measurability, whether I will go ahead with this, right? How much I should achieve and measurability. So I am looking from my personal parameter by that time. So smart framework is same. Smart framework is same, but we got to work on the parameters that are related to the branding when you are doing a branding objectives. දැන් ඒක දැන් අපි මෙතන කතා කරන මෙන්න මේ elements ටික sales වලදී අපිට කතා කරන්න බෑ. Now for branding objectives වල මෙතන තියෙන brand identity එක image එක අපිට sales වලදී sales objectives වලදී කතා කරන්න බෑ. Brand awareness එක recognition එක engagement level එක loyalty එක මේ දේවල් these are the things that are connected directly with the branding perspectives. So එතකොට මේවා sales ඇතුලේ නැහැ. දැන් අපි market එකේ volume එක වැඩි කරනක brand එක ඇතුලේ කරන දෙයක් නෙමෙයි. ඒක අපිට sale එක ඇතුලේ කරන දෙයක්. ඒකට අදාළ branding strategies ගන්න එක වෙනම දෙයක්. නමුත් branding objectives විදියට එන්නේ මොනවද කියන එක we got to identify. So this is a framework anyway where we use for any objective design. අර එකම දේ තියෙන්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට සමහර ඒවා omit කරනවා. time එක omit කරනවා, which is completely wrong. time එක omit කරාම වැඩේ කියන්නේ කවද achieve කරත් ඒක objective එකක්. Then it is not an objective නේ. Just a statement. අනෙත් එක measurability නැතිව දානවා. අර ඒ වගේ දේවල් කියන්නේ දැන් ওই measurability නැති වෙන්නේ reason for missing the measurability. You don't have a clear audit report, clear audit findings. You can't measure because of that. If you know current recall ratio, by interviewing 500 you identify 400 can recall your brand in first in the first 3. So recall ratio 400 can recall. The recall ratio is, let's say, 80 as an example. Then you know if this is 80, then we will increase it to 90. You will not be able to do it for 100. So you got to identify some measurability. Even නැත්තම් අපිට කරන්න බෑ. So measurability branding වල measurability එක එනකොට ගොඩක් වෙලාවට even the reputation, qualitative measures, right? Qualitative and quantitative measures also we can take it when it comes for reputation. So image, දැන් image එක අපි ගත්තොත් එම qualitative measure එකක්. අපි logo එක පෙන්නලා මිනිස්සුන්ට කියනවා මේ logo එක ගැන කතා කරන්න කියලා. Right? We show a logo. We don't say anything. And we ask him or her to talk freely. So some might scold the brand, some might praise the brand, some might be neutral. So some might give a higher weightage to praise the brand, very less negatives. So you let people to talk about the brand, image things. So like that. So either qualitative measure or quantitative measure, we need to identify the present condition of the brand. Then only the measurement criteria you can bring to design the future of the brand. Then නැත්තම් අපි නිකම්ම කියනවා brand මට ඕනේ recall ratio එක 180ක් කරන්න 170ක් කරන්න කොහොමද කියන එක you got to identify. If it is a new brand, recall ratio 70% කියලා කියන oh my goodness, huge investment, I mean to say huge investment. If you can remember EGB නැතුව කැම එපා campaign, right? So EGB එක recall කරන්න level එකට ගන්න, so it's a huge investment, right? යවුවනේ පොපියන චමත්කාරය cream soda, huge investment to rebrand and repositioning, getting into the mindset, top of the mind recall ratio එකට ගන්න, right? Lankan to the last drop kick cola, huge investment because unknown brands to make known brands. So it's a huge investment. So we got to identify all these areas. In the may measurability criteria මේ ඕන එකක තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒවට research කළා තමයි අපිට මේකේ measurability ගන්න. Now let's say the brand equity the brand financial value. දැන් equity එක කියලා කිව්වම මේ ඔක්කොංගෙම connectivity එක තමයි equity එක finally වෙන්නේ. But let's say as example the financial equity of the brand, the financial value of the brand. You have to identify. Then මෙතන you have the Apple brand image where the asset value 59, brand value 41. So Apple knows the brand value now. Apple might not wonder the asset value. Apple might say, hey, look here, we'll increase the brand value by another 5%, which means 46% by end of this year. So like that, if you know this, then you can design the objective carefully. Otherwise, what will happen? You will go haywire without having a proper idea. මේ හැම එකක්ම ඒකයි දැන් මේ හැම parameter එකක්ම මෙතන තියෙන. අපිට measure කරන්න පුළුවන්. Parameters ඒව අනුව තමයි අපි identify කරගන්නේ what step to be taken to build a brand කියන එක. Clear? So we do have the next one, the branding elements thing, what we need to use in it's right, branding elements, right? අපේ brand එකක් දැක්ක ගමන් සමහර මේකේ slide 25 තිබ්බට ලොකු ප්‍රමාණයක් නැහැ. මේකේ තියෙන individual brands ගැන කතා කරගන්න තියෙන. So any question? Now it's 12:22. If I start that, it will take a little bit of time. So any question? If not, we can quit for the day. And you all have to send me whatever the workings you all do for assignment. Otherwise, don't wait till the last moment. It will be a challenging one. කරන part එක එවන්න. එතකොට මට ලේසි ඒක check කරලා ඉවරලා දෙන්න. Then it is easy for you all also. So any question? If not, we can quit for the day. Anything, Kameshi?
So far it's clear. If there's anything, we'll let you know, sir.
Okay. Have you started the assignment?
Sir, I have started gathering information, but I have not compiled it together. So once I have compiled it, I will send you, sir, in a proper way, in a proper format. I will send you, sir.
Yeah, do that way. Then it is easy. Then we'll whatever the area, then we'll complete and keep it. Finally, you can compile everything. Because now today we completed for the task 3 part 1 fully done. You all can complete that area. And because the same thing you're getting for Viva also, no? So all these 3 tasks at the same time, you all can make it prepare a couple of slides, okay, from each and every point, so that you all will be able to practice for Viva also at the same time.
Yeah, so that's.
Yeah. So Chandana, you have anything? If not, you can.
Yeah, just gathered information. I'll be studying today night anyway.
Okay. So send me once it is done, then we'll do the correction. We'll do like that. Okay, guys. So then we'll see you all on next week, and I'll be able to complete the module 4. I'll be able to, not module 4, module 3 by next week. There are a few more areas to cover. So module 3 will finish by next week, because you all have to start the law and the maths before other modules. So yeah, let's meet up the next week. All the best, guys.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chandra.